Thank you, Mary Beth, and good evening and welcome to everyone, board members and parents, teachers, and public alike. This is the Irvine International Academy board meeting for February 22nd, 2022. We'll begin tonight with roll call, alphabetical by first name. And so Brett Freeman.
Present.
Welcome. Doug Hewson is present as well. Dr. Edward Watson.
Present.
Thank you. And Ethan Kay.
Present.
Glenn Rogers.
Present.
And then I have word from Dr. Jolene Smith available tonight. And then as Dr. Scott indicated, Miller Zhang is not with us to begin with, but has possibility of joining us. We do have.
He's here.
Oh, you had Miller on. I apologize. Would you acknowledge by just saying hello or present?
Hello, present.
You did both. Thank you. I apologize. I didn't see you when you came on. Great. Well, first, we have public comments. Couple thoughts again about how we use this first set of public comments. There will be a second opportunity for each action item as well. This is a time for public comments for things on parents or public's mind that are not on the agenda. When we get to the agenda item, I'll start each agenda item with opportunity for public comments. So for instance, we have a important item on the agenda that deals with a teacher letter that came to the board. Let's do those public comments at that time because then they'll be fresh and we'll all be in a contiguous thought process. But this first area then will be for non-agenda items that anyone wants to bring up. Our process generally is we invite people who are on the call or in present when we meet in person to be first, but we also have made available an online comments section, and we'll read those when we exhaust our online people. That is great. And Mary Beth, when we get to the online comments, there was one that was submitted by Randy that he's willing to withdraw because he received an answer in the interim. So we won't need to read that one unless Randy jumps on and something to amplify, but he sent me an email to that effect. Great. Then if you'd like to speak publicly, I think the way we have to do it is if you'll acknowledge by one, either clicking the button that lifts your hand or Mary Beth, is it okay if they unmute their microphone to get your attention?
Yes.
Okay, great. And again, remember this, while we care about everything that's said, and I take quite a set of notes as do the other board members, we don't respond to these because they're not on the agenda and it's not proper. It doesn't mean that we are not caring or attentive. So forgive us for that. It's just a rule that we imposed on us. Who would like to be first? Would you indicate by lifting or putting the hand up on your screen or unmuting and stating your name, and then Beth can recognize you. When we do get to 3 minutes, I think she'll let you know 3 minutes is up and then we'll bring it to an end. Who's like to be first? Would you lift your hand or acknowledge?
Doug, I believe the PTO has a public comment. Maybe we'd like them to go first. Is Victor?
I like that a lot. That would be great.
Here?
Yes, Mary Beth, give me 10 minutes to prepare that, sorry.
Oh, sure, no problem. Okay, right now we have 3 hands up, so maybe we can have Tong Yin to go first. Tong Yin.
Hi, I'm here. Sorry, we're eating. So, okay. My comment I actually already submitted in electronically, but I'm just reading it here. 2 issues. First of all, on the special board meeting on February the 3rd, that's like a couple of weeks ago, I asked the board to consider to have parents and urban community leaders on the school board of IIA, and board member Hewson kind of indirectly replied that, said that they are parents on the board. But however, I like to point out that board member Freeman represent grade K and board member Watson represent 2nd grade. So there's no representation for the middle and the higher grade. Issues and concerns for a kindergartner and the fifth graders are different. Parents of the lower grades, generally, they're more concerned about safety of pickup and drop off, play structures, etc. And parents of higher grades, we want to put more emphasis on the curriculum. We have a quiet and focused learning environment, classroom, and peer pressure, and get ready for the tremendous teenagers, because our kids, their emotion and their physical are changing. So I like to make a formal request. I will prepare, if necessary, to have a written request to the CEO of the school to put this agenda to open seats in the board, so the board members will have at least one parent from the lower, the middle, and the higher grade, respectively. Okay, that's first issue. Second issue is regarding the financial committee meeting on January 18th. In that meeting, a monthly statement of activity for after-school program, also we know as the Wonder Kids, was presented. In that statement, there's an entry of $30,000 revenue from foundation and donation. And I'm just not quite clear if the Wonder Kids is actually authorized to receive any donation and grants. And all the board meeting I've been to, is the board members are receiving donations on behalf of IIA, which consists of about 350 students. And I can't understand why these items appear under Wonder Kids, which right now have maybe about 100 kids enrolled in this after school program. And furthermore, in that statement, there's no entry for rental payment for classrooms and facilities.
Hi, Tong
And
Yin.
then,
Sorry,
okay.
the 3 minutes are up, Tong Yin.
Okay,
Okay, thanks.
okay, you know where I'm going. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tong-Yun.
Let's see, Stephen Wang. Or Edwin?
Hello, I'm ready.
Oh, go
Sorry.
ahead, Stephen.
Okay, so three main points. First of all, 25 days ago, January 28th, I submitted a formal complaint to the board. So Doug, the board, Principal Chuang, as well as Mr. Scott were on that, as well as some of our overseeing authorities. So the main part of the complaint was about Ms. Rocker, again, about her prior relationships with members of the board, with Miller Zhuang as well as Michael Scott. The fact that neither of them recused themselves either from the discussion of having her apply for this position or voting for the position, and the fact that there was no public posting for this very important position at the school. A few days later, I think it was actually 15 days later, February 12th, I submitted another email. I said, I'd also like to request under California Public Records Act, section 6250, and what follows, an opportunity to inspect and obtain a copy of her salary breakdown and a copy of her contract. You know, this is something that we are well within our rights to request and receive. I believe it's within 10 business days. Finally, on February 17th, the board president did answer, some but not all of my questions. He did provide a job description for the director of curriculum, but this was very different than what was on the charter petition, which is the director of Mandarin curriculum and instruction. It's different than what's on the website. It's different than what's on the org chart. So I'm still waiting for response in terms of clarification in terms of Ms. Rocker and her role. Another topic, just want to bring up a few questions, just generally in regard to the board. I know the answers to these questions, but I'm just going to throw them out there. How many IIA board members live in the area served by the school? How many of them live in Irvine? How many board members have children who attend the school? Like Annie just said, how many have children in upper grades, 3rd to 5th grade? How many IIA board members are minorities? How many of them are of Chinese descent? How many of them are female? Now, I know that there are 7 board members. I know that the bylaws say that there can be up to 15, So I'm wondering, how can you really serve a fiduciary role? How can you have the best interests of the families and the students with the current board composition? I know that I and many other parents are interested in serving on this board. I feel like we represent a lot more of what the concerns of this population are, as well as the priorities of this, the parents at the school. Finally, just want to draw attention to something that Mr. Scott wrote on the website. He mentioned that the failure of the original petition to IUSD, as well as the appeal to OCDE, was because, quote unquote, they needed more Mandarin academic support. In short, they needed, quote unquote, Stephen Chuang as principal, plus the signatures of 9 Mandarin teachers. They needed this to get approved. They need this to exist. And that ends my comments.
Thank you.
Okay, Edwin?
Hi. So a couple things, and actually some of it's going to piggyback off of what Stephen just said. I just want to note for anyone who's listening that there are documents available on the Irvine International Academy website. If you go to About Us and click Accountability, there are a lot of documents. I wouldn't say all of them, but there's a lot of them. And there's one in there I want to kind of highlight. If you go in there under the supporting documents folder, petition IIA approved, I believe it's dated October of 2020. So in there, it actually mentions that the role of a director of curriculum needs to be bilingual and biliterate Mandarin speaking. I'm going to say I've never spoken with Ms. Kennedy Rocker. So I'm just pointing this out, whether or not, and just kind of asking if she meets that qualification. Kind of like what Stephen just said too, was that, kind of being representative of the school and the community. I think that that would be greatly important to note. To comment on that though, I just want to, it's interesting because that was the petition to get IIA up and running. Yet, assuming Ms. Rocker does not speak Mandarin, then I'm just curious why it just seems like it's done kind of inappropriately to hire her if that was the petition that allowed IIA to become IIA, right? So it just doesn't make sense. The last thing I really want to kind of mention is that in the last meeting, there was talk about an anonymous letter from teachers, and now there's an unanonymous letter. The Mandarin teachers have openly sent that out. And just a concern I have is just the gaslighting that I feel like is going around, whether it's among board members and or parents. The immediate jump to, well, is that even an issue? I feel like that is complete gaslighting. The teachers are really the blood life of the school, of any school really, not just IIA. And if teachers have a complaint, we should support them, whoever they are. Our first response should not be, oh, that didn't happen. Being dismissive hurts, okay? These are the teachers of your children, okay? And in this case, it's the Mandarin teacher. So it's literally half of your teachers that each of your students have, of your children have. So I'm just gonna ask, everyone, just please be mindful of that. The gaslighting is real and it's not appropriate and it doesn't help. So thank you.
Okay, Lynn, go ahead, Lynn.
Thank you. So this comment is addressed to the board members. This school board is dysfunctional and ultimately doing a lot of damage to the school. And the main reason is the imbalance of power. We have someone in position of power that seems absolutely untouchable. With all board members appointed rather than elected, there's no check and balance. There's lack of financial transparency, failure to communicate effectively with parents, and throwing more mandates on teachers that don't allow them to actually teach. In an article from the Center of Public Education, an effective school board commits to a vision of high expectation for students' achievement and quality instruction, and defines clear goals towards that vision. The February newsletter on IIA becomes an international school clearly deviates from the school's original vision. And the teacher's complaint letter is a huge setback to having quality classroom instruction. So I'm appealing to you, board members, use your power you have to work towards the good of the school. If you are supporting the wrong leadership structure, You may be in fact contributing to the problem by allowing things to operate that way. Vote your conscience. Also, if you have no genuine interest in improving the school, maybe it's time to walk away. Lastly, I'm proposing for a school board reform. We need to reform-minded elected members to be on board to create transparency and accountability. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
Okay, go ahead, Annie. Annie's iPad.
Hi, so I just started a couple months back, my daughter, and I don't know, I didn't even know that there was so much drama going on, but you know, what really worried me was that we transferred to the school because it's a Chinese immersion school, but in February, we got a letter from the administration saying that this school is not a Chinese immersion school. It is actually an international school, which I understand a lot of different teachers and stuff, but that they're going to be adding Spanish to the curriculum, which, I mean, as of right now, I don't even feel like the Chinese is, you know, everything is all set. And then to add in Spanish now, which isn't what I signed up for, is actually quite confusing. So, I mean, I think, you know, to go on a whole nother route is actually very, very confusing. So I'm hoping that the school stays Chinese immersion and that the teachers don't leave, and hopefully that we could address the letter that everybody's worried about. Thank you.
Could I address the board, please? Anthony.
Go ahead, Delgado. Felipe Delgado.
Sorry, I have to find it a mute button.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. First of all, I just want to thank all the board members, all the PTO, everybody volunteers to make IIA a school for my two kids. I'm not going to be complaining because it's a lot of work, volunteer work. I just realized the board didn't get paid. Wow, I didn't know that. Anyway, I just want to really appreciate. I want to make sure you guys know all the voices are not representative of all parents. I want to tell you, I do want my kids to learn more than one language. I don't mind it's going to be international because Spanish, English, Chinese, the three combined will be even better. Because I do look into, you know, maybe sending him and her to a school that can teach all three languages. So if you guys offer Spanish, that would be like great as an elective. Of course, it's not going to be probably mandatory. I mean, even 30 minutes, it's, you know, it's great to me. And I just want to tell you, I really thank you for all your efforts. And I know you do work really hard in the back, you know, behind the screen and put everything together. Of course, you know, it's easy to complain, right? But to do the work to make it really move the school. It's a brand new school. It's going to have lots of growing pains. We understand. And I appreciate the letter that Doug, you know, drafted, kind of respond all the most of the questions. I appreciate that. And we're looking forward for another, you know, another year, another good years to come. So that's all I'm gonna say. Oh, when are we gonna take off the mask for the kids? Thank you.
Okay, Victor, go ahead.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Thank you, board, for letting the PTO talk tonight. I know there has been a lot of individual concerns brought before the school board, and we as a PTO wanted to use our combined voices to show like what is important to us. Based on the PTO general meeting this past Thursday, we asked everyone to kind of give their open comments like we are right now, and then we compiled a list of all this and then sent out a Google Forms to see what's the most important for everybody. So we did pick out the top 3 things that are most important, and actually most of these have been addressed already tonight. And also we did request with Board President Doug Hewson, Prince Shixiong, our president, did request to see if we can have an open forum, like a town hall meeting, to address the other questions and concerns that aren't going to be able to brought up tonight in these three main points. So please let us know if we could do that, and let Shixiong know to that. So our first concern, big concern, this is the #1 concern from about 80 parents who were responding as of this afternoon, is that the one addressed the letter written by the Mandarin teachers. We definitely all came to the school for Mandarin immersion, and it's very worrisome and concerning to us when all 6 teachers have come together and written a letter that they agree on. To see that they don't feel supported, or there's unequal treatment with things as like unequal reimbursements, it's very worrisome. And to see how they have a huge lack in help in their science curriculum. I know Ms. Dagley writes science curriculum for the 2nd to the 5th graders, and then the teachers have to translate that to Mandarin. So added work on top of that. And then TK through 1, they don't even get that too. So they had to write their own curriculum, and then looks like they have to get it approved as well before they can teach it. So it's a lot of work for these teachers. Like, we really love our teachers, and we want to support them the best that we can. Second, so we do hope that this letter gets addressed ASAP, and then we can let the school know what each of those points were addressed and how it was taken care of. Our second most popular concern was Ms. Rocker's qualifications and the hiring process for her as director of curriculum. Ms. Rocker is not bilingual and fluent in Mandarin. She does know Spanish, but it's not very helpful in our school right now. Her role seems a little bit redundant to Ms. Dagley's role. We got 2 curriculum directors who are not fluent in Mandarin, and I feel like that's just added work, again, on top of our teachers. To have one teacher who's able to do both of those, that would save a lot of work for everybody and save money for the school as well. I did talk to my friend, a couple friends. One is a board member at a bilingual Spanish immersion school, and the other is a curriculum writer at IUSD. And they both thought it doesn't make sense to have both of these curriculum writers to not have any Mandarin experience. And it's a little bit much, actually, to have 2 people right there.
Sorry, Victor, 3 minutes.
Okay, and the last part is the petition to the board of directors to add more parents that Ms. McNally talked about earlier as well. Thank you so much for your time, and please let us know, follow through on that open forum.
Thank you.
Joy Liu.
Oh, hi. I also want to say that the board should add some representation for the parents. And also I have also noticed that the board paid $10,000 to investigate Dr. Scott already, and that was a surprise to me. That's sent out by the school admin. And I thought that's just a lot of money, and we didn't really get too much of the report. It's just a conclusion. So I want to understand if there's any interest conflict of the third party. I want to know which third party it is. And I want to say maybe some of the parents or PTO would offer free service to investigate some of the issues. I myself can offer my free service. So I just don't want to make the whole thing another big expense from the board. So if we can do it for free, we just do it for free, and maybe get more report out to get more the data, more details, not just the conclusion, and make sure there's no conflict of interest from the people who investigate this issue. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, Ming Wei.
Oh, hi. I just want to point out that overwhelmingly majority parents want to send a kid to this school is because it's Mandarin speaking bilingual school. If we want to learn English, there are plenty of choices, as you guys know. Or if you want to learn Spanish, there are plenty too. I have no problem to open Spanish add into the program. If we already has a really well-run Mandarin program, However, it is a disaster at the moment. Look at all the teachers complain from the Chinese speaking, and that's actually the key. And that means Walker said there are about 150 people waiting list for this school. And those people are looking for their kids to be educated in a Chinese environment. And that's the reason. So if you don't really take care of your Chinese teachers, you're going to see the future of this school or program or whatever. I think you guys understand about that. So the second one, I'd like to concur with, I think Steve pointed out, the representation of the board is definitely not reflecting what the school are supposed to serve. This is for the urban community. And then this is also for say, basically people want to learn Chinese. Thank you.
Okay, Anthony Chang.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah, it sounds like I agree with a lot of the parents' comments. I think they're all good points. Obviously, there's quite a bit of dissonance that clearly exists. There's also a lot of discontent at this school, and conflicts of interest. It does exist. Doug, I actually wanted to address you directly. You had mentioned that you met Dr. Scott and you've known him for less than 3 years, but yet Michael Scott back in June 4th of 2014 actually applied for superintendent position in Riverside County. So how is that possible? June 4th, 2014. So you've known him a lot longer than that. Number two, the parents would want to know. And another thing that the parents want to know is, and they're still waiting for feedback from Michael Scott, is that he had mentioned that he had turned down a $300,000 position to be superintendent. What school was this at? And what district? I also want to address your letter to the parents and your rebuttal to the Mandarin teachers, but I'll wait until that section. And then already mentioned by previous parents, I thought excellent points. They mentioned about Ms. Rocker. February 1st, the board wanted to have a meeting. I don't know why the special meeting on February 1st, Chinese New Year, everyone's out of town. Your principal was in Taiwan on emergency leave. That's kind of insulting. It kind of, I don't know, it's not very caring towards him. I don't know why he was left out. And then at the special meeting, February 3rd, I had asked in the closed meeting, why was Ms. Rocker at that meeting? You were about to answer, but yet Nick Driver interrupted an answer for you. I guess he's like the charter school counselor to make it politically correct. He had said the board has the right to invite anybody. I'm sure that's all true and dandy, but that does not make it morally correct or righteous. Nancy Pelosi does insider trading. Does that make it? That's also legal at this point, but does not make it morally correct. I would say that's morally corrupt. There's quite a bit of conflicts of interest that this board needs to address. That $10,000 spending investigating Michael Scott, and then you guys come back. What was that? Someone else already mentioned. What was that third-party entity? We want to know. Is there any conflicts of interest? Meaning directly with Brett Freeman, since he was in charge of that investigation. Besides that, he already has conflicts of interest with your music school. And why is it with all these instruments, you can only use it after school? I thought those instruments were for the students during class time. Why do they have to pay extra to use those instruments after school? And as far as
3 minutes up.
Okay, I'll wrap it up real quick. And it already mentioned Ms. Rocker in the initial petition to the board for the Mandarin curriculum. It specifically said 4 years of in-classroom Mandarin immersion experience, which Ms. Rocker does not have. Bachelor's degree in a related field, which kinesiology is dandy. I think that's awesome. Kinesiology is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then
Lucy, go ahead.
Hi, I'm a busy mother. I have 2 kids at the school. I was very shocked, disappointed to see the teacher's letter going out like this.
我没有。
And I feel this is my 3rd time to attend the meeting, board, PTO on this. Usually I don't pay so much time. And in my family, I work outside a lot, but I'm a busy mom, and because this so concerning to me, I start to research, I start to attend the meeting and to find out why this school is running like this. And then the teacher's letter, and also the hiring process. I feel why these things are happening like this, and why all the parents has to be concerned. We pay money, we every day dress our kids, we send our kids, we trust you. So if you cannot do this job, board or PTO, or your leader cannot do the job, you can step down. There's other people want to do the job. We are very concerned about kids' safety. Why there's so many mess around, hiring the wrong people and make the teacher upset. And is my kids safe in your school? And I have friends too. They said, Lucy, do you recommend this school to my kids? My kids now gonna attend a kindergarten next year. And they heard this kind of rumors. Why this PTO or the board, if you guys are in the leadership, this is called a scandal. This is very bad, and hurt me and hurt your future enrollment as well. The leader has problem. The leader who has power to hire the person, he do it purposely. They try to avoid, it's commit a crime. You waste us so much money and time. And we pay all this program. We donate the money. Each kid's $1,000. I have to work very hard to make my kids go to your school. And you guys, if you do not have the heart to make this school good, please step down. The leader of this school should step down because you have such kind of big scandal happened. You should at least offer some alternatives, and it's an emergency. And why should I 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock here to attend this kind of meeting, which you should know what you get paid for. The leader, Michael Scott, or the principal, whoever in the leadership, you are not doing your job right. I hope, I don't know much politics, but if you have to have the parents has to be worried about the kids' safety, I have to tell you how you hire people. What's the correct way to hire people? You are not doing your job right. You should step down. This is a public school. You should not utilize, you did not utilize your power right. You should be serving. Why? Everybody know how to hire. Why you hire somebody obviously related to you and make all the teacher upset? Okay, I grew up in China. I do not know how you run a public school, but at least you should follow the rule. This is the basic rule. If you cannot follow, you should step down. I don't care you build this school or you are the person you found it. I don't know what's your purpose. Are you here to educate the kids? Are you here for financial benefits?
Nice, Lucy, sorry, it's been 3 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And Doug, I believe it's been 30 minutes total for public comments.
Hey, Doug.
Thank you.
Hey, Doug.
Is that Anthony?
Doug. Anthony.
Yes.
Hey, during my last comment, I don't think I was unmuted. You guys didn't even hear me, did you?
What was the question?
You got muted, Anthony.
Say again?
You were actually muted when you were speaking towards the end.
Doug, I'm requesting that I address the board one more time.
You'll have your chance when we come up again at the teacher letter. We're going to move on now. Thank you, though. I gave you a grace of about 5 minutes last time, and Mary Beth granted a little extra, and we love hearing from you. We'll hear later. Thank you. And again, parents and public alike, thank you. I know if I say on behalf of the board that they take each comment not only seriously, but also to heart, I'd be even understating it. And so thank you. We appreciate hearing from you. And I think what's nice is our agenda tonight will likely address a good portion of even what you brought up. So thank you. At this time, we have our closed session. And then I anticipate our closed session should be about 10 minutes. I don't think it'll go longer than that. Our topics are an employee topic dealing with the potential school librarian. And then we're wrapping up an agenda item I put on there in anticipation of litigation. So why don't we say this at 6:38? We'll do our best to be back by 6:48. But if you want to take a full 15 minutes, we'll take a 2-minute break after that. So we'll be back in 15 minutes to actually continue on. Let's go ahead. Mary Beth, would you be able to gather our board together? Nick Driver may not be with us, but if he is, I want to invite him in. And then Dr. Scott, we want to hear from you about a librarian position in our closed session. So let's do that together, board, if we may.
Sorry, Mama.
Everything. Thank you again, Mary Beth, for managing the mute and unmute for me. And that parents, I apologize, we took long. I'll just let you know, the one thing we're reporting out of our closed session is that our executive director has found from among a number of candidates what looks like an excellent candidate for our part-time librarian position. He'll finish a couple of tasks before giving to the board the recommendation for hiring, but it looks very good, and that's nice. We did not make any decisions, but we did spend quite a bit of time expressing to one another the importance and passion that we have to support teachers, and that's why we went very, very long. And so forgive the time. You'll hear some of that in open session as well. But because some of the things we talk about are employee related, they are in closed session. Okay, we have a pledge now. And so I'll invite any who would like to join me in a pledge of allegiance to our flag to follow along. And so I'm going to place my hand over my heart. And if you'd like to join me, ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And I love that last part quite a bit. We did receive some minutes from our last meeting. It was the interim meeting. I'll ask for a board member if they would to move for approval of the last board meeting minutes. And Mary Beth, you might have to make sure both Principal Chong, Dr. Scott coming up are unmuted, and then the other board members. And then also Nick Driver, he's going to coach us on some things later in the meeting. Great. Board, could I ask for a motion to approve last minutes?
I motion it, Doug.
Thank you, Glenn. And second?
Aye.
Okay, Brett's got the second. Then we'll do a roll call vote, starting with Brett Freeman.
Aye.
Doug Husen is a yes. Dr. Ed Watson.
Aye.
Thank you. And Ethan Kay.
Aye.
And Glenn Rogers.
Aye.
And Miller Zhang. Miller, are you unmuted at this point? We still have let's have Miller abstain from that one. And if he comes back on the meeting, he could modify that. But Dr. Jolene Smith is not with us, so that's an abstention as well. Okay, minutes are approved. We also have to approve our procedures in case we're online next month. You know, we're all kind of heading toward this in-person world again, but I ask for a motion to approve our meeting that will be potentially next month by abbreviated teleconferencing procedures, which is in accordance with Assembly Bill 361 and Government Code 54 and 53E1. Could I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Brett. And second, I'll second that one. Let's do a roll call. Brett Freeman.
Aye.
Doug Husen is a yes. Dr. Ed Watson. Ed Watson for the procedural.
Aye.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
Mary Beth. I
It's
have to
okay.
work myself every once in a
Ethan
while,
Kay.
but sorry.
That's right, Ethan. Oh, Mary Beth, you may have to unmute Ethan just in case.
Aye.
Looks like he says yes. Glenn Rogers.
Aye.
Ben Miller. And when you're ready, Miller, just signify by saying aye.
Yeah, I've unmuted him.
Oh, you have. Miller, you approved that we could do during the next 30 days the abbreviated teleconferencing procedures? Let's have him with abstain, and then we did pass the motion though on majority. Great. Sorry for that procedural things, parents, necessary by law. Now we have some discussions from an update from Dr. Scott and then an update from Principal Chong as well. Dr. Scott, would you like to lead us through some discussions? Board members, this opportunity too, if you have some thoughts, questions or clarification, you can slip those in. But Dr. Scott, what do you have first for us? Oh, muted. Okay, good hand signal. Sorry, it's a lot of clicking for me.
Sorry. Okay, let me do that right now.
There you go.
Hello. Thank you. You know what? It's great to be delivering good news. So I have just two items, and if Rachel's here, I know she has some. I see Rachel. I'm sorry I didn't recognize you without your mask. Well, the first thing though is we have a program called Star Renaissance that we have tested the kids on from first grade all the way to fifth grade. The test that the state test checks schools on is actually third, fourth, and third and above. But overall, our school is averaging 93% in math. Great math score. Plus, our reading score is 82%. So Stephen and I spoke this morning on how we're going to increase our reading score, and we have some very positive ways to do that. But that puts us in a good position. And when I say good, it can be better. You know, it's our first year. Kids have been gone out of school. They've been out of the rhythm. First time some of them have sat down at a test, a computerized test for a long time. So we're going to retest a couple of kids. But the most important thing is to remember they're getting scores that are good enough and they speak Mandarin. So it's astonishing what we're accomplishing, and it's going to get better.
Those scores,
Please.
so those are proficiency, right, to state standard?
That's right.
To clarify, yeah. So 93% are at or above grade level in their comprehension, 82%, I'm sorry, in math, and then 82% at or above grade level in reading.
Yes. And it's in some of that that's not at grade level, just right below it. And we have a strategy to bring those 3 or 4 kids up to where they need to be. And one more notable fact is Miss Wong in 4th grade and Miss Brown 5th grade, they switch classes. They're a team that works together. And our 5th grade kids, every one of them is reading at grade level, 100%. And the math score is, I think it's 93% proficient, with 4 right at the gate to get up. They're just knocking it out. Congratulations to that team, how hard they're working. And congratulations to all the teams working together. It's not just English or Mandarin. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be adjusting some things in science so that both are supporting each other in academics. So that's the first thing I'd like to share is we're in a great position for the state test.
Board members, any thoughts or comments on initial testing? This is our first year using our online Renaissance tool, and it tests a large part of what our school is doing, and it's our internal tool for longitudinal or year after year comparison. Dr. Scott, one question might be, is this the state testing or just our testing? What's the difference?
This is our testing that we're going to give every 2 months so we can see how have the things changed that we've applied. So it gives us constant feedback. The state test is once a year in a couple of months. And this is a great indicator of how we're expected to do on the state test as well.
Board members, thoughts, comments?
What's the first grade that experiences these tests?
The state test or Renaissance?
I guess both.
Okay, the state test begins, Stephen told me, at 3rd grade. Renaissance, we have to 1st grade. We don't have it for kindergarten, but we did go all the way down to 1st grade. So we get a starting point and then we see adjustments and we see where we go. And we've still got about 2 or 3 months left before the state test. So we're working with our teachers in the Wednesday in services. We're trying to protect that time to help our teachers improve instruction.
Are those tests online? The state tests online, or is it written?
Yes, the state test will be online and the Renaissance test is online. So it gives good practice for the kids to get ready for the state test. Okay, our second thing is our applications for next year. I've always said that children have really just a unique opportunity below the age of 10 to learn languages. Their brain is just ready to pull it all in. I wish my brain was that supple, but it's not. So we are at 197 applicants now for our 160 openings that we have. So we are going to have a lottery in TK. We already know that. We're going to have a lottery. We're over the amount in kindergarten. And it looks like we're going to have a lottery in 1st grade. There's only 1 class open because the 3 kindergartners are moving up. So we have a 4th class that we added on, but there'll be a lottery for those positions also. The 3rd grade, which is our 2nd graders moving up, we have enough, but we've had so many people apply for that grade that there's going to be a lottery for the 3rd grade, the openings that are available. Our students are guaranteed their spots. Some of those students that I'm not counting here are going to come in as siblings. They'll be guaranteed their spots. And then the lottery says Irvine residents have a priority, and then anybody else will be put on into the classroom or the waiting list. But we have great responses. It's really a wonderful report for a 1st year school, just wonderful. So we should be approaching 500 children next year. And that's going to give us flexibility financially to do some more.
Watson has something to dialogue about. Oh, sorry. Mary Beth, are you able? There you go, Dr. Watson.
I'm just curious, do you know off the top of your head, like the percentage of the parents who signed up last year versus those who actually enrolled? And I know it's only been 1 year, so 1 year is better than 0 years. And maybe that could sort of give us an idea of the 160 to 190, I think that you just quoted, what percentage of them might actually enroll?
That's a good question. Last year, a lot of people didn't attend and made other plans because we didn't have a place to be. So it was like on faith that we have a school. Our negotiations took us all the way to May to obtain the site. So they made other plans. This year, we've been taking tours around, and I think the average would be anywhere from 15 to 20 parents coming on Thursdays and Tuesdays, something we didn't have the opportunity to do last year. I'm guessing about at least 75% will be enrolled. And I think that's a little bit low, frankly. It may be higher, but I'm working on a 75% will finally enroll that have come and signed up.
Thank you.
I want to follow up, Dr. Watson, just and say, as you and Principal Chong and the administrators know more about the enrollment, will you keep Ethan and the financial team advised so that as they're doing the forecasting for our budget, they can have the latest numbers? Thank you.
And we close open enrollment coming up after February. So we're pretty much getting closer to finishing.
If we're fully full, that sounds redundant, sorry about that. If we're full, do you know the number of students that represents?
If every place was taken, it's 510, but it won't be that.
Okay.
Our sixth grade class won't be full.
Thank you. Thank you. You've got a couple other updates, I think, for us. What do you have next on your list?
I'd like Rachel to share how we're addressing some items. I want to compliment her. She's very professional. I've come to trust her judgment very much. It's great to have a resource like her in our school.
Great. Ms. Carrillo, can you unmute? I'll ask Mary Beth to do that. She's also known as 5PNW capital YJ.
Rachel, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Keep trying. Don't give up.
Okay, where is she?
Okay, am I unmuted?
Yes.
Thank you.
Hi,
This is
everyone.
Hi, this is our Human Resources Director. And so I'm seeing you in picture form for the first time. So welcome to the staff.
Hi, everyone. I'm very excited to be here. I have been with IIA now for a month. And during my month here, I've kind of streamlined a lot of the processes and working on streamlining more. So some of the immediate things that I've done is recently have made the stipend sheet for all of our teachers to be paid at a set rate, a reimbursement expense sheet, our time off request form. I'm kind of streamlining that process as well as our onboarding process to make sure that every employee that we're bringing on goes through a standard protocol that's very consistent, and just making sure all the documents are there and that they are adequate to be staffed at IIA. And that's kind of, that's kind of what I've been doing in the last month. And I hope to be making a lot more changes in the future and just making sure everything is up to date and board ready.
Board, any thoughts, comments, or questions for Ms. Carrillo?
Welcome to the team, and thank you for your help and support with the school.
Yeah.
I did see your input and edits in our key handbooks, so thank you for you gave a list of some things you're working on, but there's documents that are highly collaborative where our principal, our executive director, human resources, and others work on it, and so thank you. We'll be approving the current editions of those handbooks tonight. Great. Well, thank you for being with us in that update. And at any time when you have something for the parents and or public or the board, we'll slice you into Dr. Scott's timeframe. Dr. Scott, do you have another update? Before then we'll have after you, Principal Chung has some updates for parents and board as well. Yeah, take a second, sorry.
Sorry, let me do that now.
There you go.
Okay. Sorry, Mary Beth. Actually, I don't have much more to add. If there's a question from the board, though, I'd be happy to answer it.
Yeah, there's one I'd like an update on, unless let me defer to first other board members. Sorry, I jumped in a little bit aggressive on that. Board members, other topics. The one I'm going to bring up has to do with our director of curriculum. So, but anyone else have a different topic? Let's go with that one then. Would you share with us what we've discovered? And I want to make an apology at the front end to parents. Parents, I want to apologize. You received a letter from me, and there was one part in error. The question was asked of me, does our director of curriculum, are they required to speak Mandarin? And in my understanding at the moment when I answered you, I said no, because we have principals that are Mandarin speaking and they work hand in glove. It's different functions, but they work together. Turns out I was wrong on that. In our 187-page petition, it clearly says that our petition must have a Mandarin speaking director of curriculum. So I apologize for that oversight. I wasn't trying to deceive you. I honestly didn't know that was the case. By the way, it also indicated that that person must have 4 years of prior experience in a director of curriculum role. We probably will modify that qualification over the next 90 days in our petition, because there's probably one person in the country that could do that. They just don't exist. And yet we won't change the Mandarin role at all. That person will. So Dr. Scott, you've come upon that knowledge. Tell us what action that you'll take.
Yeah, a parent wrote to me and I agreed. And I said we'd address that tonight. That was my error in not remembering that part of the charter. So I apologize because it makes it inconvenient. The language is too stringent. That is for sure. But the essence of us having a Mandarin curriculum director is very important. But I have to admit, I feel that a great curriculum director would know multiple subjects, not just Mandarin. They'd be an expert in math, they'd be an expert in language arts, science, but our key role here is Mandarin. Nothing has changed. 50% of our instruction time is in Mandarin. I know I wrote a letter about international, but Spanish was not to take away from the Mandarin portion of our school. Spanish was going to be middle school or even after school for our children that are trilingual. Mandarin is 50% of our curriculum, and I agree with the original statement that they should speak Mandarin. So we'll replace that and fix that as far as our job person as well, Kennedy Rocker.
Board members, thoughts, comments on that topic with Dr. Scott?
Yeah, is it possible to try and get an interim DOC, Director of Curriculum, to help the teachers out at least until the end of the year, until we can find someone more permanent that's Mandarin speaking?
It's possible. I was unaware at the time that there were 4 candidates on EdJoin that had contacted us when I was looking to fill the position. And I've already talked to all 4 by phone this last weekend, and there's one person that is available. So I'm trying to arrange interviews now. It'll be with the administrative people and a couple of board members. And I think we even have some of our own teachers that I'd like to urge them to apply, that have done a great job in the school. So the interim part's going to be hard, but one person wouldn't be available to next year. They're currently at a Mandarin school in Orange County. And another one has a possibility, but there's 4 that we need to interview now that I'm aware they exist.
And I suppose that Principal Chuang will be very involved in this search and this interview process because this is someone that's going to be working closely with him, I assume.
Yeah, and he's the best to evaluate their Mandarin capability. He always does a great job of it.
If okay, I would want the board to allow me to say something.
Oh, of course.
Okay, I think there's a misunderstanding that there are 4 applicants applying for that job. That's not fact because we never post that position.
Oh, I see. You mean a director of curriculum?
Exactly. That post was never posted.
That's right. That's correct. These are 4 assistant principal applicants or principal applicants that are Mandarin speaking. And I think 2 of them can work as a curriculum person. But again, they'll have to be interviewed and credentials checked.
So they were responding to a different job posting, but you were able to talk to them, but okay.
And they're responding to a different job posting, principal or assistant principal for a role or position that we don't really need right now. Is that correct?
Well, we actually wanted to have people apply because our middle school program is going to begin at 6th grade and we want to be prepared for that. So we were looking for an assistant principal or another principal, depending on what we had to do. But now that it's clear that the director of curriculum has to speak Mandarin, we do have a start of some candidates. Although I think I've already asked Rachel to do it, and that's to put out another indicator for a director of curriculum. And plus, I should mention, EdJoin is not the only way that you can find candidates. A lot of it just deals with calling other schools and talking to individuals who might be ready. So I have personally some people in mind. It's the same way that I met Stephen, working the phones, calling schools and talking with people.
And 6th grade will be in the same location, is that correct? So really the principal of the middle school would not necessarily be of 6th grade, at least for now, because 6th grade will be at the Karen Ann Lane site. So wouldn't there just be one principal over that site, correct?
Well, that's true. And it could be a half position to work with the director of curriculum. I mean, we got some flexibility.
And as far as the interim director of curriculum, if that is one thing that the teachers really would like, which I'll discuss with them tomorrow, we could possibly suggest a teacher, as you mentioned, that could serve as that role until we find someone more permanent.
Or a couple of teachers, one to work with history, one to work with science, one to work with Mandarin. Yes. There's just so much to be done that we have to nail down.
Yes, of course.
Right, Glenn, Ethan, or Miller, any thoughts on this before we?
I would also like to bring up the conversation I have with our accountants, Athena Advanced, because they do say there was no budget for this position at all. When they presented to the OCDE, there was no budget for this position.
Director of curriculum.
Exactly.
Right. It's similar to the situation where we budgeted for 6 classroom aides. We had no budget for more aides. But as the school has evolved, we've seen the budget with our grant programs. The original budget did not include a $600,000 grant from the federal government, didn't include the K Family Foundation grant, didn't include the Larry and Helen Hogue grant, didn't include giving such from individuals that were highly significant amount. So this budget initially turned in is our initial budget without the extra things that have come about that makes our school grow.
I'll say this about budgets. Budgets are plans, and we manage to the plan, but we can change some of the subparts of our plan and still stay within the overall boundary. So think of them as a plan and a guide, not something to hamper the development of the school. If we need a librarian, we're going to get a librarian. If we need a nurse, we'll find the money for a nurse and be creative. So don't get into thinking, anybody, that the budget is something different than that. It's not a ball and chain, it's a plan. But it's a plan that we will honor too. So thank you. And by the way, good interaction and dialogue. Principal Chong, thank you. I surprised you a little bit. I should just let your parents, the parents know. I asked you, would you be willing each month, because some parents suggested it, to have a place on our agenda to share from your perspective some updates? And you were so gracious when I texted you. You said, "Oh yeah, I'll share some things." So thank you. Please do. And again, board members, I think you'll enjoy this. And then if you have some thoughts and comments, feel free.
Thank you, board members and parents. Today, I'd like to share updates that happened on our site. I know many parents' concern is that we didn't have enough lunch tables, because that's the moment when our kids took off their mask. So after long communication with IUSD, I truly appreciate their help. They did not charge us anything. So they added 10 lunch tables. So now our kids have more space and we can spread it out more to keep safe space when they eat lunch or eat snack during recess. And second one would be the application for free lunch for all for next school year is moving on. So I'm very confident that next year we will have free lunch for all students. That parents, who do not prepare lunch won't have any more headache. Next one would be after weeks of time and effort spending on the application for Easter. So we receive Easter 2 and 3 funding, but this funding is just like the $600,000 I applied, that it's reimbursement. You don't get the money ahead. You have to spend the money to get reimbursed. So we will have to work on that to integrate into our LCAP plan. So Easter 2 and 3 will be part of our LCAP plan. Speaking of LCAP, we have to comply with this requirement to present our LCAP for 2022-2023. Starting from there would be starting our school site council committee. I believe Board Watson will join us too and lead that committee. So we will send out the Google form for parents to apply. We're looking for 5 parents to join this committee, and this committee will consist of school administrator, teachers. We are hoping we will have English teacher and Mandarin teachers, and also classified staff to join our school site council. And we need to do this as soon as possible. That's the update I would like to share. And the last part, I also would like I would like to remind our board members that at our petition passed with a condition. And one of the conditions is that all of our Mandarin teachers must have appropriate credential. And we all know how difficult to find our Mandarin teachers, especially the process started in February. We spent Saturday, Sunday to interview any candidate with credential. And let alone now we have a great team of 6 wonderful Mandarin teachers on our site. We're competing with IUSD. Parents told me they gave up the best school district to join our school because of the Mandarin and Mandarin teachers care for our students. So we cannot lose any one of our Mandarin teachers. They are like 4 legs of the table. We need them. So I sincerely ask our board members to follow my concerns. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Principal Chung. Some may not know what LCAP means. Would you mind giving just you or Michael, what is LCAP? It's kind of internal language, but just so they have a picture in their mind.
Okay, LCAP represent Local Control Accountability Plan. So you will have to look at your current situation. For example, the curriculum wise, the facility wise, the staffing wise, and the social emotional wise. There are 7 different areas that we need to look into and make a plan. And starting from school site council, we get input from our key members and then collecting inputs from our staff, including teachers and classified staff. They will offer ideas or thoughts or suggestions, what improvement we can make, and also how much money approximately we have to put for that to make it happen. And then we will have a parents stakeholder meeting to gather all the input together and then present it to the board. So that would be what the LCAP process. Usually it will take 2 months for that.
Yeah, very good description. And so it's one of the ways that our authorizer ensures local control and accountability. We want involvement local level beyond even board oversight and insight. Thank you. Board, any questions, thoughts, or comments for Principal Chung before we go on to our fiscal update, which will be from Ethan Kay and possibly Delano Jones. Any comments for, yeah, I see Glenn. Thank you, Glenn. Take a moment just to get your mute going and we'll hear some comments from you. Thank you.
So, Stephen, probably be helpful. Could you do that same update you just did in Mandarin? Because there are probably some folks that would be helpful
sure.
to hear it that way.
Yeah.
You want the whole update or the last part?
I can make it quick.
Condensed.
Yeah, as much as you can get in. Thank you. Great idea, Glenn.
亲爱的家长们，我们就是要跟你们说明，我们知道有很多家长担心说这个餐桌不够，然后我们很感激尔湾学区给我们10个免费的餐桌，然后明年呢，我们也会有免费的午餐给所有的学生，所以你不知道要午餐准备什么都不用担心。然后我花了好几个礼拜的时间跟当初申请60万的时候，我花了整整的2个礼拜写了这个政府的这个补助60万，然后现在我们又有额外的大概20几万，可是这个钱不是说先给你，而是你要先花了之后政府才会还给你，所以这个钱不是说我们好像现在有20万可以花，而是我们要先花了以后才能退还。然后最后是我跟董事讲说，当初我们成立这个尔湾双语学校的时候，是其中有一个很重要的条件，就是我们要有执照的中文老师，而且在加州，在美国有执照的中文老师非常非常难找，更不用说有执照的好中文老师。我们很幸运的在我们的学校有6位为了学生为了家长付出，然后真正关心我们学生的中文老师，所以我们1个中文老师都不能少。我恳求我们的董事会要听取我的诉求，然后呢要留住我们所有的中文老师。谢谢。Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Glenn, for remembering that. Next, then, we're going to our business and fiscal update from our Finance Committee Chair, Ethan Kay, and possibly Delano Jones. Thank you, Ethan, for your team. And I apologize, I entered that meeting a little late this particular month, but glad to see all of the work and reports that came out.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Mary Beth, can you share the document number 1, which is the IIA financials? Can we show the P&L first? Wonderful.
Uh-oh. Sorry about that, Ethan.
As you're resetting that screen, I'll remind everyone that on the website under the About tab is a Dropbox that has the word accountability. And in each board meeting's dated folder, you can find these documents. So if it doesn't look right on your screen, open a new browser window and you can find it there.
Mary Beth, this is I'm looking for the IIA financials.
So is it this one, Ethan?
Excuse me, let me take a look though. No, let's go to the previous.
Okay, is it this one?
No, it's the first document has two. The first the first PDF has 2 pages. Let's go down. No, I'm sorry. Go to the previous, not the resource. Go to the other document, please.
Okay.
Let's go up all the way. Yep, right there. That's
Okay.
what I'm looking for. Perfect. We can expand a little bit. Well, thank you, everybody. So every generally the 3rd or 4th Tuesday of every single month, the finance committee does meet together. And this meeting actually, what we're looking at is right now, the school is in relatively good shape year to date and for the year as a whole. So that is actually good news. Right now, as you see, the actual revenue year to date is about 2.4 million versus the budgeted of $2 million. And the actual expenses of year to date is 2.4 million, which versus the budget of 2.3, which means right now we are as a whole ahead of the budget. I keep emphasizing the word whole. But when you look into, we drill down into it, there are some glaring numbers in some of the line items, which is the materials. It's right now still $275,000 over budget. As you have heard from prior board meetings and also in the finance committee as well. This is the upstart first year operations. There were more materials that were unexpected, and this is a number that we are making sure it's being handled, not only for this year, but for the subsequent years. Now, you're probably, one of the major revenues for the school is coming from our after school Wonder Kids. It is, as of right now, providing a net income of $270,000 to the school. There's going to be some ongoing discussions regarding the program, making sure is it being treated, how should the income expenses be allocated? Should it be encapsulated, or should it be, and how should it be flowing back to the regular school hours? So we'll be having subsequent discussions regarding that. Let's actually go next to, if you can scroll down, Mary Beth, to the balance sheet. So you can make it a little bit smaller so they can see the entire. Okay, perfect. One thing I just want to denote is our line items 9641 and 9642. Those are regarding the loans that the school has taken. So I believe the loan 9642 of $250,000 was a charter school line of credit that the school attained back in fall. It is a very, very, I think, extremely low interest rate. And I believe some payments starts in about maybe a couple of years from now. The AR sales payable is a factoring that it's very standard for charter schools to use as a means of cash flow. clearly this is something, it's an expensive money. So we'll try our best to not use those type of money sources in the future. But just want to identify those, and right now it is still manageable. Mary Beth, would you go to the IIA by resources, the prior file, document number 2? And so here is where we look at from a financial, from the different, what we can call the money sources. So there are restricted, unrestricted. If you scroll, Mary Beth, would you be willing to either shrink it and also scroll right? Oh, my apologies. Is we made into a PDF file versus an Excel file. What this shows is about all the different money sources come in. So, for example, we have school tuition. We also have from Wonder Kids. We also have the first and second Larry Hogue and Helen Hogue Foundation's grants, the K Family Foundation grants, as well as the parent-teacher organizations 21,000 grant. It does show how much has been, how much has of those grants have been actually used so far. So this is, and Delano has really drilled in as well to ensure that the paperwork and also the intent of those grants are being used for the right purposes. And so he's tracking extremely closely. And we really appreciate that, the level of detail about that. Again, all these numbers are set for as of January 31st, 2022. I do want to just echo what Doug has said earlier this board meeting. We are awaiting our webmaster to upload the check registers. There were some check registers that was requested, and rightfully so, it needs to be posted. So we'll be uploading the August, September, October, and December's check register any day now, hopefully. The takeaways from the finance committee were right now we'll be actually scheduling the meeting a little bit earlier because the school does need to submit the second interim budget to our authorizer. We have to adjust some, even though from an overall perspective, the school, the financials looks quite healthy, there are those glaring mismatches. For example, the materials that needs to be accounted for, and an explanation needs to be given to our authorizer. So the next couple of weeks, Delano, myself, and Michael, and also Stephen will be chatting about that. The next thing is next month we'll start preparing the budget for the next school year. It needs to be submitted to our authorizer, I believe, in the June timeframe. And so we again want to really tighten up to making sure our budget, which is now ball and chain, but it's more reflective of our actual expenses. Again, this is our first year. We've come a long, long ways. And I have to say, my gosh, when I look at these numbers, they look pretty good. But nevertheless, now that we have 1 year under our belt, we do need to continue to refine and hone, making sure there's budget for the proper line items. There are going to be additional revenues, expenses that we need to be accounted for. And again, the finance committee will be working closely with education curriculum committee and other stakeholders on identifying such needs. Lastly, just want to say, now that from a financial perspective, there's more rhythm involved in this. We want to start to identify what is the value we are getting for the money being spent. So right now, on a high level, numbers make sense. Clearly, right now we are positive, which is a great thing for a school, a brand new charter school. But now, as there's more labor, there's adjustment of different labor, more technology, things like Chromebooks and etc. We do need to continue to hone in on what is the value we're getting and identify. If we're getting lower value, we need to then have those maybe difficult conversations. Being high value, we should continue to maximize it. And I just want to again recognize all those in the finance committee and willing to serve. And we have Doug, Glenn, and Peter. I really appreciate you guys really to serve the volunteer time and really dive into these numbers.
Ethan, can I add that our webmaster has confirmed that they've added the check registers into the website as of tonight.
Wonderful.
Those get
Thank
placed
you.
into each board folder corresponding with the month.
Yes.
Perfect. That makes sense to me. Thank you, Ethan. Board, I've only got a couple tiny, by tiny, I mean tiny comments, but board, any thoughts or comments for Ethan? Brett will unmute you and make sure you're ready to go. Just raise your hand, board members, if you have something that occurs to you. Go ahead, Brett.
I think we were expecting the first of the ADA money coming in, is it February? Is it this month or next month?
We've been receiving it, actually. Is that, yeah, you're talking about average daily attendance dollars?
Yeah, so I had a question on that because I think it was Delano or Dr. Scott had mentioned some time ago that we wouldn't actually start seeing revenue until this around this time. So was that, did I get that right? And we were just receiving it earlier, or did I miss it?
Delano should give the right answer on this, but I believe we have been getting it already.
Yeah, the revenue is flowing to us now. And it does come in a couple of chunks, but yes, we're receiving our average daily attendance, which is a large portion of our budget.
Okay, and then the other item was, I know that we had built in I think it was a 95% attendance rate. And I'm just curious, in the first half of the year, if we have any reading on what the percentage has been.
Oh, good. Yeah, our budget was built with 95%, giving us a 5% pad for truancy or even withdrawals. Delano, are you on? I see a D Jones, but I'm not sure that's Delano Jones.
Mary Beth may have an answer for us.
There he is.
Oh, there
There's
we
Delano.
go.
Thank you for joining us. By the way, by way of introduction, for those that are new, Delano Jones is part of the Athena Solutions team, and they provide our back-end accounting and also a great deal of our reporting. Make sure your microphone's active, Delano. You are unmuted, but just check your computer microphone if you would, please. Thank you. I read your lips and it said, give me a second. As he's making his way to that, I've got a couple notes for the record, and these are so small, I'll slice them in. On the current check register, Mary Beth, if you just note that check number 279 on 131, it was a check cut on 131 for $4,925. There's no description. So it's probably a printing error, but it should have a description. And then budget code 9370 has a typo. It should say resource. It says resource. It's just an R missing in the title. That's just a simple change. And then just a reminder for Ethan, the three questions that have arisen by parents who attended the last financial meeting was, does the after-school program pay rent to the daytime school? That's just an open question. We know the answer, but we'll deliver that. What if assets are purchased by the after-school program? Can they be used by the daytime students? Open question. I think we know the answer. Then thirdly, can the after-school program receive gifts? So just, I want to note those. I know they're on your list as well. So Delano, thank you. If you can unmute now. I believe the question.
Perfect. Can you guys hear me okay now?
Perfect.
Answer, if you could, the ADA question definitively. And then I think there was a follow-up too from Brett.
Yeah, I think I forgot both questions on my way to this computer.
Number one, has our school received the first installment of the average daily attendance dollars?
Yes and no. So I'll back up and answer it this way. So you receive something called an advanced apportionment, which is roughly about 37% of your estimated P1 ADA funding. You receive that roughly in your case here, September, October. Then you receive a second portion of that. And keep in mind, what I'm saying here is that you're getting two pieces of revenues, but the timing of those two pieces of revenues for your LCFF are vastly different. So you've received your in lieu of property taxes, which is that big portion of your overall revenues. Those two components have been mimicked, or in essence, mirroring each other. The state portion, which is relatively small of that advanced apportionment, the property tax portion of that same amount, which is larger, you have been receiving that. To your point, Brent, as I mentioned, and thank you for remembering this from some months ago, I said, P1, which was just certified last Friday, now will kick off the more consistent funding, right? So now instead of getting a bigger block, you're going to get smaller, more consistent pieces, and just giving you an elementary explanation of all of this. So that will start in March, right? So you will go through February, and then March, you will be in the pipeline going forward on the schedule as everyone else. You should have, and I know Measure Ed, the student information folks, should have provided the administration with a P1 report that would show your actual ADA, and I believe it was 90 something percent. Don't quote me offhand here. I'd have to go check to see what it was, but that should have been filed. I know it has been filed, and then essentially that's what's used to trigger now this funding that you will receive through, in essence, I'll say through June, but it's really April. There's another midpoint check. Then that is the final ADA that you will be funded on for the rest of the year. So there's these true-up periods along the way before you're made whole. And really and truly, all of this is not correct budget-wise until June 30th, when everything is finalized, if I could say it that way. Was there another question or comment from the board?
It was similar to what you just answered, but sharpening it up. Brett said our budget was based on a 95% prediction based on our enrollment number. And so I think, Brett, was your question, are we tracking to that, or is that holding to be a good budget number?
Yeah, and on the ADA projection, we tend to be a little bit more conservative. So 95% in a K, K5, K8 district or charter, it's pretty low. Usually you're looking more at that 97 percentile. We tend to be a little bit more conservative, considering all that has transpired the last 2 years. In terms of just illness and COVID and things like that, and just the in and out of attendance. But I anticipate for a school of this size, and obviously, like I said, these are younger kids, so it's not like the high school where they come in the front door and walk out the side door at lunch, or at 8:05. But these kids are going to stay there, and if they're not sick, then obviously you will reach that higher ADA. And again, when I say higher, there won't be a perfect 100% attendance. I have never ever seen that anywhere. I don't think it's possible. You'll be in that 97.5, 98%, which is where we start to see that higher ADA threshold. But I will double check and circle this back to the board. I do have the ADA report on my computer here, and I can bring that up.
Yeah, Delano, I believe it was 96%. I checked.
Perfect. There you go. Thank you, Mary Beth.
Oh, Mary Beth, thank you. Brett, is that good for what you're looking for?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Great. Well, that great update and report. That moves us now into our board agenda and our action items. On each action item, there's opportunity for public comment. There's also opportunity even for our discussion with the parent teacher letter, just so parents know, and I appreciate how late it is for each of you. I want to just give you the assurance on that last topic. It's not last because it's least in importance, the opposite, but the teachers already know the direction we're going. And so I would be surprised if the teachers were on the call, but we do want to get to that for your sake. But the teachers are already in full communication and priority for us. So I want to jump, if I could, and take this opportunity. Action item 3, I want to move it up because Nick, you joined us and you're one of our consultants. And because we probably pay you by the hour, I want to get you off the call. I want to take advantage of your insight. So action item 3 for public, if you have a comment, is this. We've received an invitation from the PTO president to invite board members, a couple or more, we can't do all of them, to participate in an open forum, which would be questions and topics that the board could have a little more freedom just as individuals to comment on, but not take action. So Nick, before, well, I have Shishang maybe sharing a couple comments. I'll open it up just for any public or parents who want to talk about this. But we had one of the PTO, Victor, are you the one that shared the invitation and vision earlier? I think we heard from PTO, but let me invite any parents who have something to say, lift your hand and acknowledged by Mary Beth. If not, I want to get Nick to comment on it, board members to talk about their interest, and we'll kind of talk about, can we do this? So it looks like we've got Edwin, who originally had this idea. Lynn, Xiaomei, you've had your hand up a long time. Is it on this topic? If it is, keep your hand up. If not, drop your hand. It looks like Grace. Great. Mary Beth, you can choose which you like first, and we'll hear from each of them. And then Nick. Nick.
If I could just add in my my comment before you take parent comments, if I may, it would be a board meeting, an official board meeting, if all of the board members were there. So I just want to caution that it would be something that looks exactly like this, which is fine. But anytime you have a quorum of the board in one place, it does have to be an official board meeting with all the Brown Act constraints. The only exception is where where it's ceremonial or where you're at a conference to discuss general charter school topics or general education topics. But this sounds like it would be school business, and therefore, if a quorum of the board were there, it would have to be an official board meeting. You can do it, of course, with a non-quorum of the board. So you could send as your emissaries a couple of board members, and that would be fine because it would not be a quorum. But anytime you do have a quorum, you do have to notice it as a public board meeting of the board of IIA, unfortunately.
Thank you. That's the insight we were looking for, because we need to know the parameters to so we don't offend the Brown Act too. So stay on with us too. Thank you, Mary Beth. You can activate each in order that you choose.
Go ahead, Xiaomei Liu.
Oh, hi. I just have a couple questions for the board and Dr. Scott. And since they mentioned that the director of curriculum needs to be bilingual, needs to speak Mandarin, does that mean that they won't hire Ms. Rucker to work in the school anymore? I just want to make it clear. And my question for Dr. Scott is, Mr. Chong mentioned he mentioned something about putting the ad up on ad drawing for the new job, and Dr. Scott said ad drawing is not only place to look for teachers, and he personally knows some people out there. So my question for him is, does he prefer to get people that he know personally than go on public?
Okay.
Is there a reason?
Let me have you pause for a moment. Thank you for those. We're a little off topic, but I appreciate you so much that didn't want to be rude because we're just a little bit off on that one. And, we have the freedom to answer, I guess. Let's table that one, actually. Let's stay focused. No offense. We kind of tipped into that one a little bit. If Dr. Scott wants to answer, do you want to answer that right now just to satisfy her? Or
Yeah, the other resources, I did not know Stephen when I met him outside of EdJoin. We were not friends. I had spoken to him once. So the answer to your question is no. It is not a personal relationship of what I'm thinking of. There are several charter schools in the state that have very successful programs, and I'll be talking to some of those people. But EdJoin is one of the biggest resources, but it's not the only one.
thank you. I think that's good clarification that you'll seek after people who are currently employed delicately and pursue them at their current employment roles. Okay, thank you, Jaume. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off, but get back on topic. Okay.
No, thank you.
You're welcome, of course. Mary Beth, who's next?
Edwin, go ahead.
I think Nick may have answered it already, but I was wondering, and thank you, Doug, for remembering that I did ask about a town hall of sorts before. But yeah, I was wondering what makes it different from what I had requested in the past. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that was one thing that I wanted to comment was what would make it different from what I had requested in the past. But so it sounds like if it's not forum, it can just be there. So it sounds like 3 or less board members. So that would be great. I think clearly a lot of parents like that. So I'm happy for that if that happens. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Edwin. Thanks for being so patient in the previous months. I think this format will potentially work. The board will comment on it as we go on. Who's next, Mary Beth?
Grace, iPhone X.
Hi, I'm a parent. My kids is in the first grade. And we heard there are 2 kids sharing one book for the Chinese reading book. I want to ask if you guys are aware of that.
Thank you. I could ask, why don't we have our principal reach out to you directly on that one? I think you know the answer, right, Stephen? You're welcome to answer now if it's short, but
that shouldn't be the case. No, we have enough textbook.
let's see if we can clarify, follow up with Grace to make sure just what she experienced. Thank you, Grace. Back on topic then, who's next, Mary Beth?
Lynn, go ahead.
Okay, yes, I actually wanted to speak earlier. When there was an action item, I believe it was an action item that regarding the teleconferencing, because the board actually took an action on it to vote for it for the next meeting, wasn't that all, the board had to open it up to public comments before they took a vote on it? I wasn't able to unmute myself and make a comment then. Can I have Nick Driver or comment on that, please?
Sure.
Do parents have the right under the Brown Act to make a comment since the board was going to take an action?
Yes, every item has a public comment section, and I would advise that you be allowed by the board chair to make that comment now. It is a procedural vote every month by all boards, not just charter boards, all boards throughout the state of California every month for the period of the pandemic. But absolutely, you should have a public comment.
Perfect. And just the way the format was now, I wasn't able to unmute and make a point when that came up. So I'm going to make a comment on that, the telecommuting. I just want to let you know that the IUSD and OCBE, the agency that granted IIA's petition, have been conducting in-person board meetings since July of 2021, last year. If OCBE, our governing board, is conducting their meeting in person, why should IIA not follow their lead? Why is IIA exempting itself and continuing to do telecommuting? If IIA had followed IUSD and OCBE's in-person meeting under the Brown Act, board member Miller Zhuang would not be able to cast his vote last month unless he flew down from Canada to cast his vote to hire the director of curriculum, Kennedy Rocker. So basically, that is what I have to say. And I'm very concerned because Ms. Rocker is paid for full salary to do half of the position's job. So I would encourage and I would demand that this board continue in the future after this meeting to have it in person so that board members are required to be there in order to vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you. And I'm sure the board will take that under consideration month by month and do what we can. Thank you. Okay. Wonderful. Did we have another on? And again, I know let's stay on topic if we can. I'm not opposed to deviating a little bit, but I do want to keep moving forward. Is there another one? Is it Joy? Is that right?
Yes. I've heard that a lot of people work in the board or the faculties there belong to the same religious organization. And I wonder, I think that's a conflict of interest.
Pause for a minute, Joy. Pause for a minute, would you please? I don't want to be rude. I'm going to answer this. We're going to let you speak. But again, when I say stay on topic, the topic, everybody, is the PTO's invitation to the board to come have an open forum. But continue on. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm trying to keep some order, but your question sounds very important. I'm pretty lenient. I just want to be courteous to everybody else. Please start from the beginning again, would you?
Oh, sorry if I'm saying in the wrong time. Maybe I can talk to it later.
Do it now. We probably should have sliced you in at the beginning, but we ran out of our 30 minutes. And what you're saying is probably really important. So I'm not opposed to you saying it. Don't be offended if we don't answer the issue or the question, but let's hear from you because you've taken this long time to wait.
Right, thank you. I just heard a lot of people are working for the same or belong to the same religious organization. And I think that's a conflict of interest and should be disclosed. And whoever have this conflict of interest should excuse themselves from the decision making. So I would just like to understand if the board consider it a conflict of interest and if the decision maker should excuse themselves because of conflict of interest. That's just one part of it. And second thing is, I heard that the DOC might have this religious just because of I don't really know. Like I don't think it's she's hired because of the religious affiliation, but I just want to know if that's true or not. Like if there's anything related, it should be disclosed. And right now we're trying to say like we're trying to change the charter to remove the Mandarin requirement because of this DOC. I'm very concerning that maybe we shouldn't change the charter, but instead maybe we can hire a Mandarin speaking teacher, a very experienced teacher to be the DOC, because maybe the DOC part of the job is easier to be trained rather than the Mandarin part. So
thank you for those two ideals. Earlier in the board meeting, what was mentioned related to the director of curriculum is there be an effort to reduce the 4-year requirement in the job description that said the person fulfilling that role had to have 4 years prior experience, because we're not going to find anything like that. The Mandarin piece remains solid and will not change. The other part is the board members actually do not know each other. I know that you all see us together on a screen all at once. We don't have the opportunity to ever gather outside of this unless it was for, like something Nick said, some ceremonial, ribbon cutting or something. And to my knowledge, none of us attend the same religious institutions or even know about each other's faith and depth. So yeah, so it's hopefully that satisfies what you needed there. Sorry, back to our topic then. Wow. Okay, so I do have to tell you this. If you're just going to slice in some other topic, I'm going to say no. If you start with the word PTO, the answer is yes, you can speak. we're going to exhaust the full 30 minutes on this topic. So I would just caution you. I've been courteous to everybody. Joy, put your hand down, please, if you're done, so we know you're not going to speak. Mingwei, are you new? And Lucy, are you new? And Kathy, are you new? If you are, you can keep your hand up. Mary Beth, who's next?
Kathy?
Thank you very much. So I have a question about the teacher's petition letter and also the newsletter from the board. So in the
Wait. Say that one more time, Kathy. Sorry to interrupt. What is your topic?
The topic about is what's the reporting structure for the impacting the curriculum for the IIA? Because
yeah, we're not going to hear that right now. Sorry. We're going to talk about PTO's invitation to the open forum only. If that comes up later in the agenda, you'll have an opportunity. Lucy, go ahead, please.
Okay, sure. Thanks.
Sorry, Lucy. It'll take a moment for us to click the buttons.
我要讲中文可以吗？我中文能够表达的清楚一些。我需要翻译哈，我先把我自己的事情说清楚一下。
可以。
这个学校呢，发生了这么多的这个老师集体签名说不愿意，他们在这个工作环境不好，像这样的丑闻在这么多的家长里边传着，在整个学校都传着。还有这个雇佣，这个 Rock 的雇佣是非常高的，大家都觉得不好。那像这样的情况，那么谁到底负责任？这个 PTO 和这个 board 有没有做出什么事情？为什么会发生这样的事情？谁应该负责任？这个事情发生了，谁应该 take responsibility？ 就是说，这肯定是有个人在那里做那么多事情，才会导致丑闻，才会导致雇佣不好的人。这个主要做出这个决策的人是谁？他是不是
Let me have you pause for one moment, Lucy, just to confirm, because I'm not a native Mandarin speaker. I think you started talking about the invitation from the PTO. Now you've swerved into something about our director of curriculum. Put a bow on it, just talking about the PTO's invitation. If you're for it, let us know and why. If you're not for it, let us know and why, and then we can move on. Go ahead. About another 30 seconds.
Can you let us know what we can say or ask? Can you repeat your question to the parents here?
Yeah, so here's how it works. Thank you for asking. When we're on a topic like the PTO's invitation to the board members to come to an open forum, you can talk about the PTO's invitation to the board about an open forum, but you can't talk about anything else. That's why it seems a little frustrating. The open time to talk about anything is at the beginning, the first minutes. Now we're narrowed down to just single items. And so for people to keep opening up other topics, it's not appropriate. So we're almost exhausted with 30 minutes on just the question about PTO and open forum. We are going to get to other action items. I fast forwarded this one on purpose so that we could get through it, so that we can get to our teacher letter and response. So I see that Tang, you have your hand up. Nick Driver, do you want to offer a little procedural advice before we hear from Tang?
Yeah, if I could just emphasize what you just said, Doug, on keeping to the subject at hand. It is important to do that. It's a Robert's Rules order as well as a Brown Act order to keep to the subject at hand. As you said, there is a time at the beginning of the meeting to talk about other items not on the agenda. I also wanted to comment, just as a reminder to everybody, that the pandemic is not where conferences that are held virtually started. It is where Zoom conferences started. But before that, for the last 10 years, the Brown Act has allowed teleconferencing. So just to be clear, even if you should choose not to have Zoom conferences any longer, like IUSD or OCDE, it is still possible and very regular for boards up and down the state to have teleconferencing options. The stipulation is the main difference between this kind of Zoom conference and a teleconference option, which is the normal what we'll go back to after the pandemic is over is you have to list the address of anybody who is, any board member who is not present at the board meeting on site. So that any member of the public can also attend from that position or from that geographical location. So when we go back, which I hope will be soon, it will still be possible and probable that boards up and down the state, not just charter school boards, will still have board members who cannot, for whatever reason, be present on site, be able to teleconference in as long as they have their locations, whether it's a work address or a home address, on the public agenda. Just wanted to clarify that for the board and the public.
I think that's good because Miller, who travels internationally, may report an address. He's in Canada dialing in. Great. I was informed also, parents, that 30 full minutes is not required for each item here. It's left a little bit to my discretion. So we're going to hear from two more only. We'll hear from Tang. Thank you for being so patient. Then Paul's iPhone, and then we're going to move on to board discussion.
Hi, this is Tang. I'm for the PTO open forum because this is a very important approach for us parents to learn things going on in the school and the board. And as parent, I appreciate what the board has done for this school. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Paul?
Yes, I would like to mention, do you guys, for the PTO open forum, would the PTO open forum be recorded as well, similar to how it's done currently?
Thank you, Paul. It's up for discussion with the PTO, and I don't know that we'd be opposed to that. Nick, is there any reason not to allow people to record that?
No reason. There's no legal reason.
I think we'd be open to that. We'll hear from the board. Now, board, what the action item I'll propose is, and invite discussion, is a motion to allow the PTO president to hold an open forum with up to 3 board members who choose to interact with parents and in a manner that we approve of. Any thoughts on the idea and wisdom from the board, and express some desire on the value? How do you feel?
I think it's something that parents have been requesting for quite some time. I don't see why we wouldn't be for it. I do think that the 3 or less sounds better, make it not an official board meeting. And with that being said, I think that I actually would like the parents to, well, it doesn't matter, but I'm thinking, I guess, because I'm thinking that I meet with parents often and potentially parents might want to hear from specific members. I don't know. So to see if there are some people that had in mind, they might want to hear from other voices that they don't hear from as often as they hear from mine. So potentially they could make some suggestions of who they would like to, that's just a idea.
That's good wisdom, and we can ask the PTO president to indicate that. Ethan, how about you? How do you feel about the idea?
I think it's wonderful.
Good.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful. I echo Ed's sentiment. The selection, of course, who should be on it. Is it standing? Is it rotational? Those need to be considered. But in general, to have a little bit more an alternative from all these board discussions, formal committee sessions, to really just have engage more of a, I would like to say, town hall meeting. But again, I do want to emphasize about how to be considerate about the structure of these discussions, so that I do realize there's going to be some small operational issues. There's going to be some structural and some bigger issues, and how do we also moderate that? But in principle, absolutely having the direct engagement with the PTO, with the board members, is vital and crucial. Thank you.
Thank you. Glenn, how about yourself? I see you.
Yeah, no, I agree. Mike, the parents have been asking for this, so we should definitely do it. But I think taping, it's a good thing, because we'll have some parents that won't be able to attend because they have other obligations, right? And I think keeping it 3 or less is fine.
Recording sounds like it might be a good option then too, because it has some future life. Brett, what's your thoughts on that too?
My only comment on it is that I hope that there are some ground rules that are established with the PTO, just in terms of common courtesy, ways of addressing people, manner in which questions are asked and responded to.
Yeah, so I like that. That could take a little shaping and such. Good idea. One of the things that'll come up, it might be helpful to have our principal who can interject and have some insight into operational, maybe our executive director as well. So I think that's some discussion with Shishong and the team there too. So we get to we don't just take a list of questions away, that we're having dialogue and getting to answers too. So I think that would be a consideration. Principal Chung, how would you feel about it if you're invited to be part of that, since you're a repository of so much knowledge?
Yeah, it's the common practice in my past school district to have like a coffee chat with the principal or with the superintendent. So the more communication we have, the better we understand each other.
Thank you. Dr. Scott?
Yes, I love to give answers. I've always given answers to get the school started, talk about the changes, where we're going. Couldn't be better thing.
Miller, from your background and wisdom, how do you see the value of an open forum, also called town hall?
I think fully support that, and also, I mean, as a parents, as Chinese parents, I think they want to participate because we care education more than anything else. We put all our money in education, so I think town hall meeting for more understanding, more transparent, and also it's a support system that we can build on. Yeah, I fully support that. Yeah,
Great.
and I appreciate some board members say that we got to set with set some guideline. Then that way we're not just try to accusing, but we want to be more helpful, more supportive.
Oh, thank you.
Miller, would you mind repeating that in Mandarin, please?
有这个的机会，然后中国人，我不是说中国人，我们相信亚洲人大多数都是很支持学校，而且呢，家长都很注重教育，所以有这个的机会，大家能够更加透明，更加的清楚。我们不是要去质疑，而是我们应该是更加的去把最好的优秀的资源放在一起。所以，我们如果能够开这个，大家能够更加的对话，我觉得这才是解决问题最好的方法，也帮助这个教育和这个学校向前发展。Thank you, Michael. You asked me to speak my tongue.
Thank you. I'll ask then for a motion that we accept through the president, myself, the invitation, and will allow the PTO to express their desire, which board members, and schedule permitting, schedule it as soon as possible. Could I have a motion to that effect?
Ethan motions.
Thank you, Ethan. A second, please.
I'll second.
Yeah. Who did Miller get the second in on that one?
I will.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah.
Then let's go ahead and do a roll call vote. Brett Freeman?
Aye.
And Doug Husen's a yes. Dr. Edward Watson?
Aye.
Thank you, Ethan Kay.
Aye.
Glenn Rogers?
Aye.
Skip Dr. Smith and Miller Zhang?
Yes.
Thank you very much. So
Aye.
motion passes. Good. Thank you, everybody, for that. Now let's back up, and these are some approvals of some key handbooks. There's first on the agenda, the action item, a motion to adopt the parent-student handbook as it is written and submit it to the Orange County Department of Education. I've had the opportunity to read through it. I know board members, we were a little bit late in getting it to you, but this again is the parent-student handbook. I'll ask for some thoughts and comments. Oh, I'll ask for any parents that or public that have some comments on that. You probably have not seen this yet. You'll see it very soon. It is a living document. It exists as we approve it today, but there's very likely a month or 2 months from now, we might approve a change to it. So just know it's a living document as all our handbooks. So public, any comments on the parent-student handbook at this time? You'd be almost amazing if you did have comments, having never seen it. You might affirm and say, glad it's being approved, but we want to defer to you first. Looks like Paul and Lynn, your hands are up, I'm assuming for this. So let's start maybe with Lynn.
Yes, I wanted to know if parents have an input or if they have questions regarding some of the changes before it gets voted in. Is there any requirement by law that parents have a say or for clarification before it's adopted? And if there is any change, will the school provide the old one versus the new change in any of the updates prior to voting on the new change? Thank you.
Very insightful question too. Probably good to just take a moment and hear from our administrators. Where does the handbook come from? How does it originate? You know, do we take best practices from other schools and entities? And then that key question that Lynn asked, let's deal with that real quick. Do we over time or initially get parent input? Who'd like to, principal or executive director, either of you?
Okay. I think Nick may have a better answer than me, however. But these handbooks begin with the legal young mini in core, who goes through all the laws and helps put together documents. And then we adapt it, working with our accounting firm. Now we'll have Rachel, human resources put in, Stephen's experiences that he has to adapt it. Once it's released, as you mentioned, Doug, it is a living document. I'm sure people will say in the student parent handbook, oh, uniforms. I'd like to have a question about uniforms, and we can take that into consideration to submit.
Okay.
Nick, you have something to add?
Just to echo what you said, Dr. Scott, the process is generally initiated at the school level and goes through the especially legal, because it is fortunately, unfortunately, we live in a society that is highly litigious, so it starts with the lawyers, and only after it's created and ensured that by the lawyers that it is a legally compliant document does it go out and become a living document. And at that point, of course, it is available for input from any stakeholders, but it has to then, if there are suggestions of change, have to go back and ensure that it complies with legal by taking it back to the lawyers and having them approve any changes.
Principal Chung, anything you'd add, or is that pretty consistent with what you're thinking?
Yeah, so usually my understanding is that parent student handbook is good for 1 year. So each year we will have discussion with our school site council, starting from there, to get parents' input. If they think something need to be updated, we are certainly open for that. So just again, it's an annual handbook. It's not like we're going to stick with this for 5 years. No, it's not like that.
Thank you. And would you be willing to be the point person for parent input on the handbook then, as principal?
Yes, yeah, the school site council will be leading that.
Oh, and the school site council is a perfect way. Thank you. Great idea. Board members' thoughts or comments, questions?
Not for me, Doug.
None.
I only have one, and it's just a recommendation. The naming of the document has the word finalized in it. If you could think about maybe adding either the school year handbook 2021-22 or the date it's published, I'd feel better than finalized, but that's very minor. And thank you for being willing to accept parent input. I didn't hear from Paul. I apologize. Paul, let's slice you in real quick on this topic.
Yeah, no worries. So Lynn actually covered majority of my questions, but I as a parent would like to know who's basically part of the approval board in the change and release process of this handbook, and is there a standard operating procedure for details of the handbook?
I can answer that. So basically, it's information shared with parents to understand better about our school. For example, daily schedule, uniforms, nutrition programs, PE programs, daily schedule, everything parents can think of. So we try to include that to help our parents to better understand about our school, including in the very beginning, our vision about for our school. And again, as we move on, there might be changes because we do want parents' input that can bring us as a stronger community. So we will hold school site council meetings on a regular basis to gather information and suggestions from our parents.
Great. Thank you, Paul, for that. Delgado, I think it's Miss Delgado. You just popped up. You might have some good insight. Let's hear from you, and then we'll wrap it up and go for a vote.
Yeah, so the school, I think the parent handbook you just mentioned, thank you for having that. So I assume that's only applicable for parents that have kids attending IIA, correct?
Correct.
So future parents or parents already left, that's not applicable to them, nor given input.
Sorry to interrupt. So usually we will publish on the website for prospective parents to read and consider if they want to enroll their child in our school.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you. So could I have a motion then to adopt parent-student handbook for this year?
Motion, Doug.
Thank you, Glenn. Second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Brett. Let's do a roll call vote. Brett Freeman.
Aye.
And Doug Husens, yes. Dr. Edward Watson.
Aye.
Thank you. Ethan Kay.
Aye.
Glenn Rogers.
Aye.
And Miller Zhang.
Aye.
Thank you. Passes, and we have our parent-student handbook. Thank you for all the hard work on that from the team. Next is similarly, there's an employee handbook that we're producing now, and the motion will be to adopt the employee handbook as written and approve it for submission to the Orange County Department of Education. Ms. Carrillo and Principal Chung have had quite a bit of input on this too, along with Dr. Scott. Let's give well, there may be an employee online with us today. There may be a parent that has something to say about the employee handbook. So let's give opportunity for open comments first. If you'd signify by raising your hand, please do. Then we'll go to board comments and questions. Ms. Carrillo, if you're still on, I know we've kept you very, very late. If you want to give any type of overview about this, that might be nice. It looks like we have Kara Gardo. Let's hear from you first, and then we'll go to Ms. Carrillo and board discussion. Give us a moment to unmute you, Kara. There you go.
Oh, hi, Doug, and everyone else. I was just wondering if this is applicable to after school and as well as the morning program.
Yes, does it apply to all employees, even in the after school program? Let's start with Ms. Carrillo. If you're still here, if not, I'll ask Dr. Scott to answer that question. And I don't see Ms. Carrillo. Dr. Scott, how about you? Handbook for all employees, daytime and after school?
We have some 70 plus employees, part-time, after school, all employees, the handbook will address sick days, holidays. It's a comprehensive for any employee of the school.
Anything to add, Principal Chung, on that?
Yeah, basically it's a handbook for the whole school. So any HR issues or questions are addressed there. So we have a uniform. We have a system there.
Yeah, and a guideline. Thank you. Board comments or questions? Tung, I see you raised your hand. I don't want to miss you. Go ahead and slice in your thoughts real quick, please.
Yes, I just actually follow up what Kara just asked. So this handbook applies to the teachers work in daytime IIA program and also the afternoon wonders kid as well. So do the anti-nepotism also apply to all teachers in the morning and in the afternoon?
Great question. I'm not sure if the anti-nepotism policy is inside the employee handbook. It stands alone as the policy and as a required policy that's on our website. So that's an open question whether we've written that in there, and we'll just put that before Ms. Carrillo to follow up on. It could exist in both places, and it's not problematic to add the anti-nepotism policy within the employee handbook, but it is a standalone document and policy right now. Great. Board thoughts? I have two, but I want to defer first to you on this. Anything that we can place before our executive director, principal, or HR director related to the employee handbook?
Doug, this is Ethan. I do have a question. I do see there was an executive summary that was circulated internally a while ago. Just wanted to ask if today's version that we're going to be proving on has deviated from that executive summary.
No,
The executive summary is still relevant to this document.
Mary Beth, you had something also to add?
Yes, I was going to say the same thing.
Oh, okay. You guys are thinking alike. Other board members, and then I'll slice in mine afterwards. Mine's, I think, pertinent. You'll probably agree with it, Brett.
How many authors contributed to the handbook, and who are they?
Starting with the legal young meaning core, they'll have multiple. Athena on vacation days. Kim, our employee consultant with her 30 years experience, I think. Payroll. Mary Beth, Stephen, myself. The only person that hasn't contributed significantly yet, it's probably easier to do it that way, now that I think about it, is Rachel. And she's anxious to get into it herself to review it. So the living document part is true. And Rachel will be reviewing it again herself now that she's done so many different parts, getting our streamlined processes in place.
I envision this, handbooks like this may come before our board in a month or 2 months, and we'll highlight only the changes so that you'll be approving the changes, knowing that the rest of the book's consistent. Be much more efficient for your reading. I read the entire book. It's quite a handbook. Here's what I have that I want to note, Mary Beth, for Ms. Correa, our HR director, specifically she would in the next version include the work she's done on reimbursement processes that came up in the teacher letter and the employee escalation committee language that the board approved last board meeting that allows for employees, once they've exhausted the process is internal, that they can go to our subcommittee. If we add that, I think it's ready as is. It will get it to the Orange County board as is, and then we'll get that update once we're in. Could I have then to approve the employee handbook for submission to Orange County Board of Education?
Can I make one other comment? One thing that I see with our documents is, and as a parent had mentioned or alluded to earlier about change control or release, is that we need to have some, these are controlled documents, and there needs to be some log of them, some control over who authored it, who approved it, the date it was approved. And this is one of those documents that I think needs to be on there. It's pretty critical. So just to make a point of that for reference here to update.
Thank you. And that's key. That's on my to-do list actually, and task list from the last board meeting, and the approval of our our policies and procedures subcommittee. And so in the same way for handling issues, we've adopted a new tool and software to chronicle those. I'll work with Ms. Correa on that so that all of our documents are publicly available, and when we've adopted new versions, so we have a chain of history on that. Thank you. Great idea. Kara, before we take our vote, let's slice you in. Because you have a big role in the after school program. Kara, I see your hands still up.
Oh.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, can you hear me? So I just have a question. If we can add something related to the employee complaint. If there is a complaint with the after school program, like between morning teachers and after school teachers, if there could be a clear process for like coming to me, or can we work on that to add in as well, just so that teachers know that they can come to me if there's an issue with the after school program?
Let's, I've noted that, Mary Beth took a note on that, and that can be a discussion with Ms. Carrillo. If it's in the employee handbook as it's written, no change needed. If it's not clear enough for the after school program, that can be a suggested change to adopt next. Thank you. That'll be the third idea, then reimbursement process, employee escalation process, and then after school as well, that it's clear in there. But thank you, that makes sense. Good, then I'll ask for a motion to adopt the employee handbook.
Motion to adopt.
Not on the board yet, so I'll motion that we adopt it. Can I ask for a second, please?
Second.
Brett has second. Let's do a roll call vote on that. Then, well, starting right with Brett. Brett.
Aye.
And I'm a yes. Dr. Edward Watson.
Aye.
Thank you. Ethan Kay.
Aye.
Thank you. Glenn Rogers.
Aye.
Thank you. And Miller.
Aye.
Thank you. Then passes. Thank you, everybody. These are going to be very helpful. Thank you to the Orange County Board of Education for being patient on these. So that takes care of action item 1, 2. We did 3 out of order. We're at number 4. And this one is going to take a little bit of explanation. I hope I can do it justice. Can I confirm that Ms. Carrillo is not with us right now? This would be an extremely long day for her.
It doesn't look like she's
Okay, good. Then I'll go ahead and lead the part on this one. So we also likewise have two things, it turns out. We were presented board with a technology policy for parents and students. We were also given an employee technology policy. So you get that? One is for parents and students and how they interact with technology. Then a second was actually an employee technology policy. Dr. Scott or Principal Chung, do you know if the employee technology policy is already contained within the employee handbook? So I believe it's separate. That's the way I saw it in the documents. So I want to approve them. We may have to wait on the employee technology one because it wasn't agendized. What it was agendized was the technology policy for parents and students. So if it's not a barn burner, let's hold that one over, even though we've seen the document. Let's talk briefly about technology policy for parents and students, and then try to see if we can adopt that one. Any public want to comment on technology policy for parents and students? Give you a moment to indicate that. Okay, board members, thoughts, questions, or comments on the parents and student version of the technology policy? I only have one, and it's more kind of typographical. Okay, it's this one. In the student policy, there's a signature block at the end for parent and student, but then immediately following that, there's another signature block for employees. I think it was a cut and paste holdover. If that's the case, if it could be edited out, if there really is an employee that confirms for the parents something, great, keep it in. I just didn't understand the purpose of it. And it looked to me like it was probably a cut and paste from maybe the employee version. Any insight on that, or is it worth, could I task either Dr. Scott or Principal Chung to look into that and just edit it before we submit it if it's not supposed to be in there?
So I can check with YMNC on that. It's the draft that they provided.
Yeah, if you would do that, Brett, and then
Yeah.
if it's not supposed to be in there. It just, sometimes I create documents, I'm working from 2, and then I have an extra line in there. So it's not problematic. It doesn't make sense to me at the moment. If it has legal purpose, let's keep it in. So good. If any other discussion on that before we ask for a vote? These are really helping us get a big step forward in our policy and procedure area. So I'm grateful for Brett, you running it through Young Mini and Core and getting us at least going. Okay, then let me ask for a motion to accept the technology policy for parents and students with the caveat that it could have one edit at the very last line, which asks for an employee signature that may or may not be part of it. And if you'll defer to our attorneys on that, would somebody make that motion?
And motion approved.
Thank you, Ethan. And a second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Miller. Let's go ahead and have a roll call vote, starting with Brett Freeman.
Aye.
Thank you. Doug Husen is a yes. Dr. Edward Watson.
Aye.
Thank you. And Ethan Kay.
Aye.
Glenn Rogers.
Aye.
And Miller Zhang.
Aye.
Thank you. Then we have that adopted now as action item number 4. The final action item, the cell phone use policy for students. We're asking to approve and adopt this policy, and it's a part of the parent-student handbook. So we've kind of adopted it already, but it's still worth its own unique discussion. And any parents have anything or public to contribute on the cell phone use policy? Of course, in the future, it may be an issue you want to comment, maybe premature or not ripe for you yet, but we want to give parents or others an opportunity. Anybody? Okay, thank you. Anything from board members? There was nothing for me when I read it. It was fine as it was. Any comments, questions? Okay, great. Could I have a motion then to adopt the cell phone use policy for students as it's presented in the parent-student handbook?
I motion it, Doug.
Thank you, Glenn. And a second, please.
I second.
That was Edward. Thank you. Let's do a roll call vote. Brett Freeman.
Aye.
Thank you. And Doug Husen is a yes. Dr. Edward Watson.
Aye.
Thank you, Ethan Kay.
Aye.
And Glenn Rogers.
Aye.
And Miller Zhang.
Aye.
Thank you all for that. I appreciate that. And I appreciate the staff that worked on this. Those are miles forward. And in a first year, it would have been ideal to have those, in June, but there was just no way to open a school and develop these. But I'm grateful that they're in place now. Last item is a discussion item. And I've asked Edward to team up with me on the leading of this discussion because ultimately he'll be a point person on this. Parents, this is, some of you have sliced in some thoughts on this. You've heard some of what has already been said in other points in the board meeting about the position of our director of curriculum, which was a major part of the teacher letter. But for those who are just joining us and are unaware, allow me to at least share with you what we're talking about. Last week, we received a signed letter from our teachers on the board, and in it were a number of significant issues that they raised. Some of them were requests for information. Others were strong requests for some changes. We followed up with those to confirm that these teachers wanted to use the new process that we adopted as a board recently, which was having exhausted their administrative remedies within the school with principal, executive director, and HR director. They've elected to go with a direct board subcommittee. And so that subcommittee has now been engaged by them. We believe the first meeting will be tomorrow. And the board has emphasized to me speed and response. So that will be great if that can happen. We've scheduled school time for it, and we've moved a particular standing meeting off the calendar so that meeting can happen. The letter was circulated widely, not by the board, by the way, but with parents. And so it is a private matter, but it's now public. And so I feel that we can talk about it, not to resolve the issues in this meeting, but to forecast the process and the priority, and to have everyone hear from the board members their response to it initially. So if I could, well, Edward, I'll allow you to jump in because you were immediately the very next day personally engaging with our staff to express reception to this process, which you actually chair. Would you share some of your thoughts? Board, I'll open it up to you. As I get ready to do that, by the way, the process is this. Something that comes, this is a bypass committee that was conceived of by Ethan Kay that is very helpful now. the process is that subcommittee will begin to hear, research, and resolve to a degree some of the issues that need to become a board decision because it is something operating out of policy or requires a policy to be made or a policy change. Those will come to the board even out of a normal monthly session. We'll hold special meetings to address teacher concerns. Sorry, board members, but as they clump together in 2, 3, or 4 issues that need a board decision, we'll do them and we'll act on them. The subcommittee makes a recommendation to the board. The board either accepts a recommendation that becomes new policy, or will become a corrective action to our staff who's operating outside of policy. So that's how it will work. It will be resolved once the board handles it. It may not be resolved in the way that employees desire, but it likely could be. The subcommittee will be charged to talk to all parties necessary to get to a recommendation. Thank you for letting me forecast that. Edward, would you share from your perspective? Then we're going to hear from board members as well.
Yeah, so just first I wanted to ask if the one issue that the teachers were having, because since the first letter, which I can't remember when that was sent out, I went to speak with some teachers. I've spoken with 6 of them now, approximately 4 Mandarin teachers and 2 English teachers, and just to gauge how they feel about the school and what's happening. And officially, I think we're meeting this week, as well as I've spoken with admin multiple occasions, and I'm meeting with some admin later this week. And really, I think from those conversations, which I will solidify and see if this is where the teachers' heads are at. But from those conversations, really 2 big things have come. The first one was the director of curriculum, which we discussed. I know that we have decided to move in a new direction to hire a Mandarin speaking director of curriculum, but I think that some are still curious as to what is going to happen to Miss Rocker. I know we discussed that a little bit. I think that she is, at least at this point, will no longer be at the school. If someone wants to correct me on that, they can. And then the second big issue is the disconnect between the leader of the school and the growing cacophony of voices. It began with the parents and then admin, and now with this teacher letter. It appears to be a strong disconnect with the between the employees and the leader of the school, executive director, Mr. Scott. So what potentially may happen, and again, I have spoken with teachers individually, but I want to speak with all of them together, which should be happening in the near future. What potentially may happen is, based on my suggestion, or based on what I've listened to so far, or what I've heard so far, is we as a board might have to reevaluate the roles of the executive director, Mr. Scott. Although we have what his role is, I believe the disconnect might be occurring because those roles aren't solidified, and we might have to reevaluate what that role is, and that could include restriction or restricting his role, or at least ensuring that he does not step outside of it, because I feel that based on what I've heard so far, and again, after I speak with the teachers as a group this week and with admin, that potentially him stepping outside of his role is what is causing the disconnect and the sort of murkiness and vagaries that are happening at the school amongst the teachers, the admin, the staff, and really everyone involved. So that's what I have for right now. That's sort of the quick version of it, because I don't want to necessarily put the cart before the horse. I want to make sure that the teachers, I don't want to speak for them. And as I said, I've spoken with them individually, but as since the second letter come out just last week, I haven't been able to speak with them as a team. So I'd like to do that before I make any suggestions to the board to be voted on. I think that's all I have for now.
No, thank you very, very much, and for engaging personally. Glenn Rogers is part of that standing committee as well, that subcommittee, and the teachers have invited Ethan Kay also. What's kind of noteworthy, I think, is that Dr. Watson also is Mandarin speaking, which is very helpful. When you're trying to express emotional topics, sometimes expressing those in your native language is much better and more exacting. And so thank you. And then Ethan K., you'll enhance that as well at times, and to interpret them back to the board, both the exactitude of what the issues are and the emotion associated with it. So we're fortunate to have you. Let's continue our discussion. The direct answer, though, I believe at this moment is our Director of Curriculum, Kenny Rocker, after the board meeting, will be informed she's no longer qualified to be the Director of Curriculum. However, Dr. Scott will have to make a decision as to her continued employment. That isn't a resolved issue at this point, but she will not be in that role. That has been decided. Am I misstating that for any board members right now? Did you understand something different?
I think I understood that. Dr. Scott had some, could oversee what he envisioned a role for Ms. Rocker could be, but that role would have to be approved by the board and would have to go through the correct processes in order for that to materialize.
Yeah, I think that's
including interview processes. That's what we want to get done, Doug.
That's one of the processes that I was alluding to, but thank you for Glenn for being more direct.
Yeah, thank you. That was good. Okay, then on our teacher letter, let me get some responses from board members. I will forecast this, that in order to, in a uniform manner, work with not just the teachers, but all issues that arise from this point forward to conclusion, I've begun the process, and I'll work very closely with our principal, our executive director, and our HR director to record issues as they arise, and then with a help of a software tool, gather the appropriate research, including documents that satisfy and keep the status. And each board meeting, starting with the next board meeting, our principal will report on the status of issues. And if we can export the document, we'll post it with the board meeting. So currently I have 30 open issues related to the teachers. I have other open issues related to parents, but 30 related to this single letter, ranging from the questions, is IIA a Chinese school or a Mandarin immersion school, and what's the difference? I have questions that range from, has the executive director been micromanaging teachers beyond his role? I have, is there a process for teachers to engage in curriculum development opportunity in an equitable and fair process and to receive stipends for their extra work? So from that single letter, there were 30 issues raised. And thank you, Edward, and the team for tackling, I believe, 4 even on the agenda tomorrow. You know, you'll begin and probably resolve 2 out of the 4. And so let me hear from the board on how you feel first about receiving a letter like this, and then any guidance for our team, our subcommittee, or myself, or Dr. Scott or Principal Chong from this point. So who'd like to go first?
I do have a question, Doug. For tomorrow's meeting, or I should ask Ed, is it going to be a group setting or is it going to be a one-on-one or breakout sessions?
Thank you for asking that. The teachers have preferred to meet together as 6 people in a group.
Okay.
However, Ms. Carrillo, HR director, reminded them that our relationship, our employment relationship with them is as individuals. Okay, that's important for a number of reasons, and that our commitment is always to respect them as individuals, which means each has a ability to make their own independent decisions. And so we'll continually reinforce that, but we want to move along with them as they desire, which is as a group. So it's a little bit of a tension to manage. You know, no one of them speaks for all of them, but if they speak collectively, we hear that and we hear the amplified effect of that. But when it comes down to it, each will then make a own judgment about the degree to which we've resolved their issue and what they want to do about that.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's good. Keep the dialogue going. Again, I'll invite your feelings about the receipt of the letter, and then anything you'd like to charge the committee or reflection for our principal and executive director.
I'm happy to provide some comments. Frankly, I was just really disappointed. I'm really disappointed in receiving that letter because it should never get to that point. Dr. Scott and Principal Chuang, I look to you, everybody. The teachers look to you, the parents look to you. But the teachers are the most important part of the school. Without the teachers, we have nothing. And these are incredible teachers. We're proud of our teachers. We need to support our teachers. And for the board to receive a letter, in my opinion, is like the last straw. So I really hope that we can work together. Clearly, the communication channels are broken. I don't know if they've ever been established correctly, but I certainly hope that you take note of it and think about how we can meet with these teachers one-on-one and help steward and nurture them and their concerns so we can deal with them in a timely manner and don't have to wait till we get to this point. Thank you.
Yeah, Doug, I think, again, I echo a lot of what Brett said. I think one of the things that I'd like to see come out of this is having Stephen meet with the teachers every week, just the teachers themselves, right? And let the teachers voice concerns directly to Stephen, right? Because that's where it should start, right? Because you're right, we have a communication breakdown between Stephen and Michael. The teachers are concerned in one way and they're not voicing it correctly, either to Stephen or to Mike or to both of them. And then it comes, and the letter is coming directly to us, right? So we're taking action on this. We're meeting with them tomorrow. And I definitely want to hear from the teachers directly, and then we'll figure it out and we'll figure out the right solutions.
Yeah, thank you. Miller, how have you been feeling and processing receipt of the letter and the content of it?
Yeah, I think as I received that, and then especially that, it's from the, so-called the frontliner, and then definitely they're challenging the leadership, and then also it just come directly to the board. So we have to address that. And then also even serious to consider that the leadership, there's some way that we need to be held accountable to the parents, to the student, because the teacher is the essential frontliners. So if they don't feel support as a group, then that way, I don't think the children feel safe, or the parents will not feel. So for this school to start up and then to this point, I think probably there's a lot of commotion that, just happened. I definitely say, encourage both. I mean, Scott and Steve, Principal John, that to work out some of your conflicts, work out some of your disagreement. Okay, and I think that's just one of the key issue also. I mean, leadership is always important. So I would definitely just encourage both of you that, maybe one needs to be more stand up to speak out. And then the other one probably, just trust and then let go of the micromanagement. I think something that, in that, I would just say, I think that this is an opportunity for both to develop your leadership also, if, as long as continue to work together. I don't think the language is the problem, but I think it's just maybe the personality, character, or experience. Okay, you brought two cultures but work together. But at the same time, to show the unity to the teacher, I would just say, I mean, the board will into this, but I think for us, we have the responsibility to really to make it the best for the children, the best for the teacher, that they can feel safe, feel rewarded. Yeah. But I would just say that, thank for those teachers that speak out. Yeah, I think they're probably under lots of discussion or internally, and then they speak to our board directly. I think I respect them.
Thank you. Ethan, you just had asked a question before, but didn't get a chance to express your response or your emotional response to the teacher's letter.
I echo everybody was said, and Doug, I also echo what you said earlier. I have been reflecting on this letter. Like all of us, we have been reading it very carefully to not only understand what the words it said, but what's the meaning behind it, and to really understand where is a disconnect. Clearly, the teachers are the lifeblood of a school, amongst all the stakeholders, parents too, the children, the administration, and we all are needed for a proper school to run.
Mm-hmm.
The takeaway I got from this letter was, Miller, the prior board members did speak a lot to it, but what they're asking is also very practical. I see four items, and I'm reading as I'm speaking right now, and it sounds very reasonable. These questions are reasonable and practical. I'd like to hear what not only the concerns they have, but suggestions directly from them. But Doug, I do echo what you said. Not all of their suggestions may be taken, but at the very least, we will listen to what they have to say. We will listen and carefully and understand. Maybe it's not the right timing, but eventually, but we have to then be able to communicate it back properly. I believe I'm excited tomorrow. I won't use the word excitement, but it is to hear from them collectively and over time individually about not only their concerns, but their suggestions as they are right there day in, day out. So looking
I
forward to it.
appreciate you're on a travel and first day of I think a family activity, and you're going to participate and dial in the midst of that. And you're instrumental. They chose you, and for you, flexing is really important. Of course, I will be there just at the beginning, but not part of the meeting, to acknowledge how important our teachers are as well. I think could say we hear you, and I would say the overall assessment I have is there's many valid concerns, issues, questions. I think I read it that way too, and so I would add this then that I'll just kind of two thoughts. One, Dr. Scott, were you aware of this letter before the board got it?
No, I was not aware of the letter.
Okay. Principal Chung, how about you?
I was aware there was the first anonymous letter sent out. But
Second letter, any knowledge of that one?
no.
Okay. Yeah, and so it's kind of what we're at. We desire that operational, and there's a lot of operational, there are some policy issues in here. So that does rightly belong with the board, but there's a lot of operational ones. We want those to be resolved with the view. And so I'll just add this piece. I have said within the board, and then with each of you privately, and then you two together, that the only real danger to this school is for the leadership not to be in unity and harmony. Now, unity doesn't mean conformity, but you two must be in unity far more than you are. We have plenty of money. We have extraordinary teachers. We have parents. I've never seen parent involvement like this in any endeavor, let alone a school endeavor. So then it just rests back with this board and with you two and the staff. And so every effort you can make toward unity with our teachers, with each other, we can resolve the problems. The problems are real. They didn't say anything that wasn't real. They didn't have the adequate information that they needed. We can provide that. We can develop, we can slow down when we're overwhelming them. There's all of these things are resolvable, but the only piece that lies untested is within you two and with this board. And so if we can be in unity, we can deliver to these parents what they're expecting, not just a good school, but a truly great school. Their involvement demands it. I believe you'll go with us on this journey. You've already invested. I'm not going to discount. You've already invested so much. I haven't missed that from way before this school started. But now it's time to redouble the efforts in this area and allow this committee then to do its work. When they seek you out for information, just please provide it as quickly as you can. Thank you, Dr. Scott. I think I emailed you over the weekend for job descriptions that Edward can provide to the teachers tomorrow. That's one of the 4 top issues they asked for. I think if you'll continue to be responsive and involved, eventually it will turn around and the board will be less involved. But Ethan, thank you for conceiving of this idea. Edward, for every effort and insight too. Glenn, you'll be integral tomorrow. I will just again echo for the teachers how much we support them, and then I will just wait in the wings in case somebody can't be part of the meeting. Let me invite any other thoughts. I see 4 parent hands up. It's not that I don't want you to say something on this. I don't know that you honestly have anything new to add. This is an employee issue that is now out of the administrator's hands and with the board. I'm willing to entertain it, but we are at a late hour. And so if I do give you opportunity to speak, just net it out, please. By net it out, I mean, just shorten it out, get to the most critical thing, and don't churn on something you've already emailed me on, if you don't mind. That's just a request I have. Board members first, then I'm going to get parents as appropriate, maybe a last word. There's voting on this. We'll just have board record following. Board members, anything else to add?
Yeah, I'm just really curious about what happened between all these teachers talking with themselves and getting upset, all these issues building, and us receiving a letter. And nobody being aware that a letter was coming, and nobody being aware that these issues were there. We had a prior communication before. I thought it was spoken to by administration, but apparently it wasn't addressed adequately. There's just this huge gap. And frankly, the board is getting involved in a lot of operational issues that the administration should be handling on their own by working together. And if you need a job description, if you don't know what your own job is, or you don't know what your boss's job is, you just ask them for it. And just go to HR department and say, can I get a clear job description? We need to make sure that employees understand that they can ask for this information. It can be provided to them. So everybody's clear on what their responsibilities are and what they're measured on.
Thank you.
HR has only been there for, how long has Ms. Carrillo been there? I mean,
1 month.
1 month.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's a little tough for the teachers. Plus, you also have to, bear in mind that the first letter was sent. That letter was told by some that it was fake. So a lot of other people who might have taken it seriously were thought, oh, well, it's not a real letter. Then another letter, then there was the issue of people trying to, admin trying to get people to not to sign that they didn't send that letter. So then you have that big issue. So then I think there's a lot more that's happening here, not just with just the, as I had mentioned before, the leadership and the teachers. There's this huge disconnect. Therefore, I feel that the teachers had no other recourse. I mean, you send out a first letter, you don't hear anything really. And then the only thing that you do hear is leadership trying to get you to say you didn't send out the first letter. So that doesn't bode very well. So I think it's a little bit bigger than just, ask your superior what the job description are, what their description is, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's a little more complicated or a little more challenging than that, I guess I should say.
So if you have an issue in your role, you go to your supervisor.
Yeah,
So
what if your issue is your supervisor?
Okay, so we have an internal complaint procedure. I guess, where's the record of it?
Well, as you mentioned before, part of that internal complaint would have been with HR, but but HR, I don't think she was just stepping into that role.
But she was hired, the teachers are hired by somebody. Somebody was told, I am your manager, I have hired you, here is your responsibility, here's what you're supposed to do. If you have questions about stipend, or if you have questions about this, there's supposed to be that open communication. We have it in all of our businesses and all of our positions. So why, how does it manifest itself into a letter, you know, which trust me, I can appreciate where they're coming from, you know, with the concerns that they have. But these things you would normally take to your manager, it says to me that the communication chain is totally broken and that they don't feel comfortable going to their manager. And then their manager isn't comfortable going to his manager saying, I can't provide this information. They're asking me for it. I don't know what it is. Can you help me with it?
Okay,
instead,
I would like to,
please.
I'd like to explain. So I was away for 6 weeks.
That's true.
And then when there was a complaint, I did share with Dr. Scott. So I did share every concern teachers had, but he's my boss. If he's not doing anything, I'm not allowed to go to the board, which I did try to share concern with the board. Board did not respond to my concerns. So that's what happened. That's the fact.
So you have, so I appreciate that, Principal Chuang. So do you have some sort of record of your communication to Dr. Scott about these various issues?
Yes, for example, the teaching of science curriculum. I think Dr. Houston also included him. He heard what I said regarding teachers' concern, how stressful it create for teachers and parents and students. But unfortunately, it was not heard by my supervisor.
Okay, so I guess, you know, it would be helpful in this process for us to understand. First of all, we need to address the teachers' concerns first and foremost, you know. But I'm hoping also that this process, once we've addressed those issues, that we also look at our internal process, see what was communicated, how it was communicated, so we have record of it, so we can make sure that these are properly addressed. And if you're providing things to Dr. Scott and he's not responding to you or not responding in an adequate way, we need to be aware of those things too. And maybe that's what this bypass committee is supposed to help with, but we're not getting the visibility. And instead we're getting a letter, which is very gravely concerning, all the board members have expressed.
I truly agree, because in my prior school district, I'll be fired immediately. But again, we are not here to, we are here to work as a whole team. So as people know, I've been always collaborative. I always collect teachers' input before we make an important decision. That's been like that in our every faculty meeting. So that's my role, to put everyone together, to work together as a team.
I think that's something, one of our operational goals, since the board's going to handle some of these now, that out of this comes a new refreshed method internally between our principal and executive director to address these way before the board gets those. And some of those are going to come out of recommendations from the subcommittee. And I will just acknowledge Principal Chung bring to me by way of conversation and email one of the issues on the list that dealt with too much STEAM training per week, 3 times per week at certain grade levels. I bubbled that up to Dr. Scott, and I don't think we've just adequately resolved it with the teachers. Maybe we're still too much, maybe the way we implemented it, but thank you for bubbling that up at that time. It's one of the issues. Okay, so here's what we have left for our board meeting. We have 1, 2, 4, 8. We have 11 people that would like to do something. Here's the thing, parents, we like hearing from you, of course. What I would like to give each of you, and if somebody says what you are going to say, be gracious enough not to need to use your time. But I'd like 30 seconds to get to your comment. If it's a question, that's fine. Remember, this is for employees. We're dealing with an employee issue. You're, how should I put it? If you're not part of the problem or the solution, check what you're going to say, because it's just gossip, right? You understand that? So if you're not part of the problem, you're not part of the solution, check what you're going to say, because all that really needs to be said is going to start in that subcommittee. So with that guideline, I won't correct you. I'm just going to give you 30 minutes. I won't scold you. I'm just giving you what I expect. Mary Beth, you can take them one by one, and when we hit 30 seconds, just let them know to wrap up their sentence. Mary Beth, you able to unmute them one by one?
Yes, you can mute yourself. You can unmute yourself. Edwin, go ahead.
Thank you, Edwin.
Thank you. So first question, I just want to say, can I clarify, is Kennedy Rocker still an employee? And also I want to point out from what Brett was just saying right there, I brought this up to you guys in August that I had concerns about Mr. Scott and his decision-making and what he will do at the school. I did say this in August. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Anthony?
Yeah, I think Dr. Watson, finally someone on the board actually touched the iceberg, at least the tip of the iceberg. I'm glad that's happening. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Anthony.
Kathy?
I can hear the frustration from the principal Chang, and also I read the letter from the teacher and the newsletter from the board. So I think one realistic question I want to ask the board is, what kind of authority Principal Chang has? In the letter the teacher sent out, they mentioned about they did not get enough support from the director of curriculum. They did not feel respected or trusted or kind of having the work-life balance from Dr. Scott. What kind of the authority you give to the school give to Principal Chang? And also for the influence of the curriculum in the newsletter sent out, it's for the curriculum taught to the teacher, then principal, then director of curriculum. I don't think that is correct. The Principal Chang, who is the principal for the College Park Elementary School, who is in the Bay Area, that is 9 out of 10. That is the top Chinese immersion school in Bay Area. With his credential, he should have enough influence to, and the director of curriculum should report to him, regardless who is hired.
Thank you,
Principal
Kathy.
Chang should be the, the director of curriculum should report to him.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy.
Mingwei?
According to the IIA's website, the job description for the DOC is to supervise and train principal, which is seems really weird, but that's the situation. So I think a lot of questions the board members was asking should be directed to this Miss Rocker instead of Principal Chang. Second of all, thanks Ed for all the effort and did go out to listen to our parents' concern. And third one is whatever this future position for the DOC, it should be under the principal instead of above. Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul?
Yeah, so basically I stand with Principal Trump, and thank you, Dr. Watson, for understanding the situation. And Brett, to address what you mentioned, I believe that there was no proper chain of command, or when it was mentioned up to the chain of command, it was left basically to the back burner by Principal Chang's boss. I feel Principal Chang has taken a lot of heat for this. And my opinion is that I feel all cylinders need to be firing. And if one cylinder is not firing, a proper mechanic ideally should be addressing it. And Doug, to your point, I believe the pinghe, which basically the harmony, is broken on one side. With all that said, with all the revelations that Dr. Watson has made, an interview process has been ratified and placed into the standard operating procedures and handbook. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Tang Yen?
Okay, Brett mentioned about his surprise about the teachers.
I guess if we put the teacher's complaint, you might as well put all the parents. The parents are in this too. Okay, right now we have 115 parents here. Each of them probably represent about 1.5 of the student in the school, student in the school. The second day, when the letter comes out, there were parents standing at the school corner, handing out the letter, translate in English and in Chinese. They take out their own money, spend their time, busy morning, stand at the street corner, handing out those letters to every pass-by vehicles. The parents are in it too. We all support our teacher. We support our principal. Now, board member Houston, the problem is the board and the member, the CEO. You guys allows him, has so much authority, and all these things, issues. Some of the parents have been at this board meeting, every board meeting since the school started. When my kids start, the teacher in my kids' class, first thing for the volunteer parents to do is to put on a noise reducing curtain between the classroom.
Thank you, Tang Yan. Thank you.
Okay, can I just continue? The next meeting, I brought up the issue about doors. Right now, 6 months down the road, still no door, noise everywhere. Okay, this is not just a teacher. It's a teacher and parents. Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Okay, Ryan.
Hi, I have a solution. I think everyone should let Principal Chuang do what he does best. I think his track record speaks for itself, and everybody, the board, Michael Scott, should let him take care of everything because he has a handle on it. And I want to be clear, the letter from the teachers did not state anything about Principal Chuang being the problem. So I just wanted to also say thank you to Dr. Watson for his time and speaking up on the parents' behalf.
Oh, thank you. Pause for a moment. I had for a moment ago, Donna Lee was going to be last, but it looks like Lynn, let's just say Lynn's going to be last. So we've got Delgado, Alex Chan, Michelle Lee. I think the big letter J, John, yeah, I think you spoke. You can put your hand down. And then I see one on iPhone. Sorry, I see you, but I don't know your name. So let's go ahead and go forward with Delgado, please.
Can you hear me, Doug? Thank you, Doug. I just want to express that from what I've heard, it sounds like there is a path forward to solve this issue from the letter and items that were in there. But one thing I want to remind everybody that I know there's been a lot of focus on the Mandarin teachers, and I want to remind everybody there is a diversity in this school, and that whatever your solutions or however you approach this, keep in mind there are non-Mandarin teachers at this school that you have to also include. Okay, that was my only comment. Thank you.
Go ahead, Alex.
Thank you. So I appreciate Delgado's comment early on about diversity, but that's exactly the reason why we need to understand our Chinese teachers' issues, because clearly when they highlighted them, I think, you know, back then when there was an anonymous letter, it was being heavily ignored. It has escalated to this point because there was not open communication. Now, we've talked about communication many times, and I wanted to give a constructive feedback to the board here. In the letter, it's mentioned by the teachers that there's no parent representation on your board. And that's because there are issues happening at the school, and obviously the board is very disconnected. I sympathize Brett. I mean, he clearly wants to find out more about what's happening, but not in this particular way. Now, I am administrator of a university as well, and I understand when this sort of issue comes up, obviously it's embarrassment, but this is freedom of speech. We should allow the teachers to feedback their issues, but in a different manner, maybe through parents. Why not have parents to serve on the board? So clearly, if everyone really cares about the school, we need to have more open communication, and do not close up Dojo, do not close up Facebook, do not close up YouTube so that parents are not able to speak. I hope all the board members will consider these comments, especially coming from the teachers. Thank you.
Michelle Lee.
Hi, I'm confused why some members of the board have expressed disappointment with both Principal Chuang and Mr. Scott, when the teacher letter only has issues with Mr. Scott and absolutely no issues with Principal Chuang. Why is Principal Chuang being blamed for dissatisfaction with his boss? Does he have any control over Mr. Scott? The parents have verbalized issues to the board with Mr. Scott since the beginning of the school year to mostly deaf ears. So Principal Chuang was not involved in the hiring of the director of curriculum. Isn't it a huge oversight that Mr. Scott does not know that his own petition for the Mandarin Immersion School required a Mandarin director of curriculum? Excellent English and math instruction is a given for people who are choosing a school in Irvine. They can get that at any IUSD school. So the parents are putting up with the growing pains of a new school specifically for the Mandarin curriculum. And if all the Mandarin teachers are unanimous in their issues, then maybe the problem is what they said in their letter and not with Principal Chuang. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Jay?
If I understand correctly, Mrs. Rocker is still with the with the school, and Mr. Scott is trying to find another job for her. So it's really concerning that it seems to hire one person first and then find a job for her later. And I somewhat have a solution for a conflict of interest. So I think all the conflict of interest, whether it's a religious affiliation or business affiliation or it's a family members or romantic interest, anything, I think it should be disclosed. And whoever has this conflict of interest should be excused from decision making. And everybody should take a look at it. And if this person is not excused from the decision making, maybe it should be somehow punished, which at least let us know, let everybody know that there is a conflict of interest. And they didn't step out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Andrew?
Hi guys. So yeah, I'm Coach K, the physical education teacher. I just had a couple things I wanted to bring up. I don't think I might have missed it, but what were the exact concerns of my fellow Mandarin teachers at the school? Because as neither an English or Mandarin teacher, I kind of feel like a stepchild sometimes here, and I never really get to understand the problems at our school. So I just want to better understand them because I really do care about the success of our school and I want us to be here for years to come. And I do care about our students. And my second thing that I wanted to bring up is there a way for us as teachers to directly go to the board if we find that we are not finding a way, up the ladder and we're not finding any success up the ladder at our school? Thank you.
Thank you. And just on that one, as we get ready to wrap up, Donna Lee, you're last. Peter, sorry, you're too late. On that one, you're a teacher of ours. Ask your principal tomorrow to provide the pathway for raising issues, and ask one of your colleagues, please. By the way, thank you for your service in our PE area. Ask your colleagues to provide their list of concerns that were in their letter. It's their story to tell, but I can share with you a list of what I've taken out of their letter that are now the issues that our subcommittee is working on. Come from me, the list of concerns, but they can provide their letter and you'll see how the two match up. We want you to be informed, but again, part of it has to come from them. I can give you what I've taken out for sure. Thank you.
Lynn, go ahead.
Yes, I wanted to say that I support our teachers and their rights to make and file a formal complaint. I also support our hardworking principal. The Mandarin teacher's complaint letter actually came up during the principal's absence from school when the school was under the care of the executive director, Michael Scott. I just want to also say that IUSD denied IIA's first petition to open a Mandarin immersion school. OCBE denied IIA's petition on the first petition. So that's two denial. On the second attempt to OCBE, they finally approved it when Principal Chuang was hired on. So this school wouldn't be here without the principal. So let that be known. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. And we echo that. That was our pathway. And when we had both a Mandarin speaking principal and particularly the principal we have, Stephen Chung, we were able to say to the Orange County Board of Education, now we have a complete team. So I echo that. One thing I'll just mention on top of that, though, because it's something that is a theme that I've heard tonight. When people say that there were no complaints in that teacher letter of Principal Chung, I want to tell you I see it very differently. As a matter of fact, I see huge problems in that letter with our principal. I see huge problems with our executive director as well, but I see it very differently, and I have the background and experience from which to speak, having run a school twice the size of ours. And so I had 4 principals that reported to me. I love our principal, but I see huge problems that you don't see. And I'll make that known as well. Peter, you've joined. Paul moved up on my list, and Donna Lee. Let's give each of you 30 seconds, and then we'll put a bow on tonight's meeting. Paul, you first, please.
Go ahead, Paul. Okay.
Sorry. Give me a second here. So what I want to mention was that there were 2 commenters that actually spoke about the letter in the PTO meeting and mentioned that the teachers were unfortunately unprofessional. So I just want to make that comment.
Thank you.
Donna?
Hi, thank you, everyone. I had some comments that were echoed by other parents earlier, so I'm not going to rehash that. I will say that there have been parents that have been doing research on Mr. Scott, and in talking to a lot of politicians like Irvine politicians or Orange County politicians, IUSD and such, there seems to be a pattern with Michael Scott when they were approached by him in 2019. And the pattern is very clear, and it's pretty disturbing to me, to be honest. Separately, I also want to say that I don't know what the solution is to this problem. It does seem like this school has a big problem with multiple facets, but all of the problems seem to stem from one person. And I think maybe the best way to solve this problem is to get rid of the source of the problem. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter, you'll be our final one. Thank you for being so patient.
Yeah, so I was just having a suggestion. Why not use something like either like a task or workflow software to document and track, like, you know, teachers' suggestions, teachers' complaints, any issues that they have, and then that way you can keep track of, you know, how long has the issue been outstanding, has it been resolved, you know, or are you going to close it because, you know, maybe it's just frivolous, or you know, at least something that you can document, and then, you know, the people that filed the issue knows that it's been addressed. So that's just a suggestion.
Great one, Peter. Thank you. That's up to our principal and our executive director, how they want to handle internal issues that arise. Board issues now are being tracked and managed through a software called backlog.com. And the teacher letter is the primary one in there. There are some other parent issues, but that'll be the consolidated location where we can report. And some of those will report back that deal with operational issues through our principal every month. And or our executive director, then the board will report directly on policy issues. So thank you, great idea. Well, board members, I appreciate your participation and also going the distance tonight. Any board recommendations for either our executive director or staff or myself prior to asking for a motion for adjournment? Great. I'll ask for a motion for adjournment and then I'll do a roll call vote on it.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Brett. And second, please.
Second.
Oh, thank you. Then roll call, Brett Freeman.
Aye.
And Doug Husen is a yes. Dr. Edward Watson.
Aye.
And Ethan Kay.
Aye.
And Glenn Rogers.
Aye.
And Miller Zhang.
Aye.
Well, thank you, everybody. Parents, again, thank you. And public as well. We'll end the recording at this point. Thank you, board members and staff as well.